Why?
The wind bag.
My ankle.
you know
I can't put
why?
any weight on it still.
Did you start it and then just start complaining?
My ankle hurts.
Fuck.
Damn.
Wah.
Wah, 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 wah.
Whoa.
So you didn't play Subcom. How unfortunate.
No, I did not.
There,
Yeah.
I
that's more
still don't know
normal.
how to play that game. I probably never will.
I don't either. Yeah. Yep. They just really love my company, I think. Is why they let me play it.
Probably. How do I do anything?
How do you?
I don't know.
Unfortunately, Ken, I think if I play the intro music tonight, you're not going to get to hear it. So bear with me.
That's all right.
I'm
I'll
gonna kick
follow
it off.
along with your... Yeah.
Our movements.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
I
How do I
can't.
see the chat?
Mm-hmm.
God damn it. I'm like 100. How do I just see
You have to open up the mobile dashboard.
I don't know. Oh wait, can I just do
Oh,
chat?
do I have Twitch?
Maybe.
Day Night Dice chat room?
There you go.
What if I say, hey?
Then let's see. Let's see what happens. Date Night Dice just said hey into the chat.
Okay.
We have one viewer, and it's probably Date Night Dice.
It's me, baby.
How do I have Twitch?
See? I'm not the
Grandson,
only
do I have Twitch?
person.
Excuse me, grandson.
Are
You're
you gonna
techie.
die, Ben?
Yes, I am.
Just mute it.
Let's get this show on the road.
Yeah.
Oh no, Ken can't hear it.
We have to like sign it for him.
I completely forget how it goes. No, that's not.
Close enough.
You're singing like "Away in a Manger" or something. You're not.
Hello. Well, welcome to
Ben-
another Date Night D-List
Ben
Wait.
movie
always
review.
will try to tell me a song, and he's like, when they do that, and I'm like, I have literally no idea. And then the song will be a very well-known song. So
Is the D-list song just "Away in a Manger" but a different like?
with a little pop to it.
I'll drop it to you, Ken. You
Yeah.
can hit play on the MP3 at the same time so that you can hear.
Thank you.
We
Thank you.
are doing a whole new streaming setup. We used to pay for a streaming service, and now that we don't do the podcast, our annual subscription has expired, and I am now having to manually run this show. I have OBS running. I did no tutorials. I looked at no how-to videos, but here we are. I hope it works. It seems to be operating
Open my email. Hold on. Sorry.
just fine. Tonight, what are we going to do? It's a Date Night D-List movie review. This is where we review bad movies or box office busts.
Yeah. Why you?
Yeah.
And we try to figure out why they busted. Why were
I
they
don't think we
bad?
try to figure it out, but okay.
On
Is
tonight's
there a
episode.
podcast
Struggling.
Go ahead.
about box office busts that is like cleavage talk?
Like bus? Okay.
Yeah.
Bust
It's got to be out
I'm
there.
sure
I'm
there
sure
is.
it's out there.
with Honker and the
Somebody's
Burgers.
covering it. Right.
Awooga.
Tonight's
Right.
guest.
Yeah, you need a
Yeah,
soundboard
exactly.
for that podcast.
Wow, 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 wow. On
Eyes.
tonight's episode, we are talking about the 2013 masterpiece, Jack the Giant Slayer.
You're struggling.
I know. The ancient war between humans and a race of giants is reignited when Jack, a young
Already
farmhand, fighting for a kingdom and the love of a princess, opens a gateway between two worlds.
No. No.
Yes.
Who wrote
Yes.
this?
I always love the IMDb description is always one sentence, one run-on sentence.
I like how also it says he literally does nothing in this
He doesn't
entire
do
movie.
anything.
He's
Nobody
just
really
a
does
audience.
No.
anything.
No, they don't actually. But he honestly does like nothing. So I'm not quite sure why
Yeah.
his name's even
He's
in
our
the title.
hero.
What a weird movie
And
this
like
was.
opens a portal. You mean he like dropped a bean? Is what we're
He grows a beanstalk? Yeah. Which
He
we knew
opens-
was going to happen.
a gateway.
gateway.
Uh,
That's
Let's
totally
spend 20
different.
minutes talking about how a beanstalk is a portal or a gateway.
What is? I
Let's
have
break
the.
this down.
Actually, I'm gonna pull this up for you guys. Let's see if this works. Oh my gosh,
What?
it does.
Does it
Um,
work?
What
We
is
can't see it.
behind him? What is behind him
Can't
there?
see it.
Picture.
Oh,
See,
you
we
guys
can't
can't
see
see
it.
the pictures.
Whoops, sorry.
Oh,
I
Yeah.
just
no,
had
Do I
to-
need to open Twitch?
Yeah.
How do I?
on the
do
movie
that.
poster, there's like a
Okay.
city behind Jack pointing
it's
his
supposed-
sword at.
Probably supposed to be the kingdom, right?
Yeah, but like, it looks like New York City back there.
He also looks like he's wearing a zip-up hoodie. So.
I don't know what
Yeah,
is.
why is it?
Why is it like that back there? What is that?
But like, even look at his clothes. I would be like, this
I don't
must
know.
be 2019.
This movie poster looks like he has a hoodie,
Yeah.
and it's New
Yeah.
York City, and he's fine. What?
You know what? That would probably be a better movie. Let's be serious. If a beanstalk grew in New York City and then
Sure.
the Giants came,
Why
I
not?
take that probably
Go
more.
for it.
On the
Yeah.
one I have, so the one I have in the stream is just the movie poster. But the one I have up from IMDb, it says from Bryan Singer, director of X-Men.
Ooh, well,
Ugh.
I
don't know if that's.
I don't know about this.
I don't know.
He's well, whatever. Let's not talk about him. But yeah, this poster is garbage.
Yeah. Well, the movie.
Now I'm just looking at movie stills.
Oh my god.
How did I
he
get here?
goes.
He does have like a hoodie on. He's got a medieval hoodie on.
Does he?
All right, I'm getting distracted. I don't know. Should we just get to show on the road? What are
can.
what are
Really
our
quick.
upfront?
Would you tell people to watch it?
I was
or
gonna
not watch
say,
it?
here's my thing. I think this might be okay if you have 8, 9, 10-year-olds interested in a Jack and the Beanstalk story. Now,
It's just very
the
specific.
the person I just described does not exist on this planet, right? I've never heard of anyone in that age
Like
group.
every night,
yeah.
Will.
Oh,
It's like,
hell
say
yeah.
it again,
Give me
Dad.
that Jack and the Beanstalk.
Yo,
I
let's
think
check out that beanstalk.
God.
But I think for everything it's missing and everywhere it missteps, it leans hard into being sort of like a silly fairy tale.
It does, but it's
And
like almost very
I don't think it's good.
graphic at some point.
yeah, there's definitely an R-rated version of this that why on earth that was ever like a
Yeah,
I don't know.
Right? Why
But,
is it
like-
so close to being too much sometimes?
But
Yeah.
it sort of reminds me of how I remember live action movies growing up as we were kids, where they were like, this is pretty scary. And I go back and I watch some of
Yeah.
them now and I'm like, whoa, this is pretty dark.
Yeah.
Whereas like
That's
you
That
could
is
true.
true.
you could imagine watching this as an 8-year-old and every time a giant eats a dude being mortified, even though
Yeah.
it doesn't
True.
show anything,
Yep.
you would
It's
be like
A
off
lot,
the
though.
rails.
Yeah,
I think
I'm
That
you're
is
out of
true.
right.
the room.
that is true.
I think it's been 10 years, since this movie came out. And it feels like we're in a different era. It feels like you could never, the stuff,
Excuse me.
like the way
Einstein.
that the violence is shown in this movie this is at the tail end of when things were a little rougher around the edges.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Is
I
it?
think I'm just
What is
gonna-
this rated?
It's got to be PG-13, right? Yeah. PG. Why would you make a Jack and
I
the
would think.
Giant and the
Why would
Beanstalk
you make
that's
it
PG-13?
Well, that's the thing. I just don't know who
Yeah.
it's for because it's not necessarily for kids, but it's also not for adults.
Definitely
I'm
not for
not-
adults.
So
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure who they were like Amy and I don't know.
And that's why
don't
I
know.
think that's why it feels like one of those older 80s movies where they were trying to balance being funny to kids and being interesting to adults, But
Yeah.
instead of being like now we have Pixar stuff where it's very emotionally charged.
That's true.
Stuff in the 80s was like, this is dark, and that's going to
That's
get our
true.
grown-ups in. You know, there were
Mhm.
no emotional arcs in 80 movies. It was like the boy killed the evil sorcerer. That's the lesson somehow. I don't know.
I don't even know. Yeah. I totally agree.
I don't hate this. It's very lackluster in a lot of ways.
Well, and
Yeah.
it you know, it had, I feel like it had a good cast. It had
Yeah.
fairly decent production values. It just
For the
didn't have a
time.
good script. Like it just doesn't have a good story. There's
Oh.
nothing there. It's like they were trying to make a
Yeah.
movie out of nothing.
Yeah, that's true. I agree.
And
Yeah.
they did their best, and it's just sort of like, bah. It's just like, what, you know, so it's easy to get through, right? Because it's not like it's poorly made
Yep.
necessarily.
Yep.
But
Oh,
there's
yeah.
And
nothing
it
It's
moves
there.
at a good clip.
Yeah. It's just very like, what are they doing? And then it's, I don't know.
Right,
It's just
each
weird.
scene is not like poorly executed, but then when you think about like holistically the picture, you're like, well, this is
What
not a
was
good
that?
story to tell. I didn't. This is
Yeah.
not something I was interested in, like
As your,
experiencing.
Like it's an old fairy tale. I just okay.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
no.
But you know, it's weird because I walk this line between. I'm glad they didn't modernize it. Like they very easily could have put Jack in a hoodie with,
Yeah.
you know, leather Nike shoes from
Oh my God.
1600. You know, they could have
Yes.
gone way over.
I don't know. They're pretty
This
close
is sort
to
of
that.
like one of. Yeah, he probably got. There's
A little
probably a
bit.
cut scene with him putting on Nikes, but
Right.
this is. I felt like this was one of those movies where your spouse has a movie from their childhood that they adore,
Yeah.
and they're
Mhm.
like,
that's
"You
true.
gotta watch." This is that '80s thing that I'm hooked on.
Yeah.
You gotta watch this, and
That
you're
is
watching
so
it, and you're
true.
like, "What is this?" And you,
Right? And they're like, you're
You
gonna love
don't-
this part. You're gonna love it.
yeah. Oh, this is my favorite part, and it's like, okay.
It's like the
That is what it feels like. That's exactly what
It's
it feels
like
like.
a weird
Yeah.
fairy tale thing. I think if you watch this movie at the right age, this would be it. And we'll get into it, but like I think the costumes in this are really great because they're crazy. They're over the top.
They
the
are.
king, the general.
The
like,
general.
oh my
is
gosh,
like,
the general. Do you have a picture of the
doesn't
general
I
make
that's
any
gonna
don't.
come
You
up?
can look for him.
It
Oh,
doesn't
okay.
make any sense why
The general
he
is
looks like that.
from a different movie, and then
I
he
need to
just
see if I
Yeah.
can
popped
find
in.
a picture.
Okay, well,
They
should we
went
get
to the
started
costume
then?
department. Yeah, let's get
Yeah.
into it. I'm
Oh my
talking
gosh, here
too
he
much.
is.
Okay, well, don't show him yet.
I don't know how to download an image from IMDb. All right, let's get this
You
show
have
on the
to-
road.
you have to
Also,
snip it.
Janelle's here. Hello, thank you for tuning in and welcome to the show and our new
What's up, J Dog?
technology format.
She goes by J Dog, right?
That's what she's told me when I met her last year.
Yeah, please. It's J Dog. Ms. J Dog.
Oh my!
Hey,
I swallowed wine. Right.
Does
the J.
she even spell her name with J?
I don't know. She
You
said,
don't know how to
"Haha,
spell her
yes."
name?
So
All right,
All
I
right.
guess she goes by
See,
J
I
Dog.
know her
does
better
now.
than you guys do.
yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. Okay, so this movie opens up.
The
on a-
seventh son of the seventh.
We're never gonna get
This
through
is
this if we
better.
do that.
This is better than the seventh son of the
I don't
seventh.
know.
I think
I
I
don't
might
know,
disagree with you
man.
on that. I think
Oh
think I
man,
might
you
have
guys
to
have
just-
no childhood imagination. You old farts.
I think I just imagine
All right.
myself as like a Witcher knockoff and not a giant slayer.
I keep calling
Sure.
them trolls in this. I'll probably do that throughout the.
we know
you
what
know,
you mean. Yeah.
But okay, so it opens up on a little boy talking to a doll. He's telling the fairy tale about giants. His dad comes in quickly. He's
Can I just
like,
cut in here? I totally forgot that we do the whole like movie overview.
it's been not even a sentence. What? Oh my god.
All right, sorry, continue.
Can I? Did you want to say something?
I wanted to say that I forgot that we did that.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
He just
well,
literally just wanted to cut you off. Yeah. I forgot that I can cut you off and talk about
Okay.
some weird thing.
So the kid's dad comes in, and the kid is saying, "Hey, can you tell me the story?" Like, mom, obviously, like, mom's dead or some crap. Anyway, the dad starts telling the story, which it doesn't matter that the mom's dead, so I don't know why we even had bring it up. But the worst, I did not find a picture of this. The worst graphics ever are
Yeah.
portraying the fairy tale story.
Yeah.
Think like a 1994 video game graphic, like
Yeah.
I don't know, it's real bad. And so
This
they're
is
telling
PS1,
the story
PlayStation 1. Yeah.
about, Beanstalk, the men climb up, the giants knock them down, the giants go down, they destroy everything, they take the gold, they eat the people, all that jazz. Okay, so that's the story. Jack
Okay.
loves it. Then we cut to a little girl's also listening to
Done.
the story, but it is the queen and the princess. So it's like little girl, little boy. We get it. We already know what's going to happen here. Anyway, back to the story. They say that the monks took out a giant's heart, melted it, which I want to be like, I don't know how that works.
How
but,
does it?
Dang.
Yeah.
but they melt it, they make into a crown, and then the crown will rule the giants. Sure.
Sure. Okay.
So yeah. So and then at the very end, they say that when King Eric died, okay, they buried him with the seeds in the crown. But then when the dad leaves the room, Jack finishes the story, which because he's like a creepy little psycho kid, and he's like, the giants will return to wage war, and this time win and eat the last of Eric's kin. So it's like do do do.
For some reason, I'm not a big fan of like King Eric. You know,
Why? He actually seemed decent.
like King, it's be like King Magic Mike. You know, like,
You just don't like Eric?
I don't know, it's just like too short. It's too informal for a king.
You want like some
No,
like
come on.
Frederick? I don't know.
I don't know. It's just
So that's the whole, it's the whole Jack and the Beanstalk
I
story.
did
We know
like-
it. The graphics though are
The CGI was
So
garbage
bad.
here.
so bad.
They were trying to do this thing. They were trying to make it look like carved
claymation,
wood,
maybe. Oh yeah,
but because the
yeah.
C or some it to me it looked like it was
Something.
supposed to be carved wood. It just looked really bad. It should have been 2D drawings,
Yeah, it should have been like a book.
right? Very simple stuff. Save yourself $10 million. And I liked the poem because the whole thing rhymes.
Yeah, it did
And
rhyme.
it's quite long. It's a couple minutes of a rhyming
Yeah.
poem, which is kind of cool. And I just thought it established this is a fairy tale, even though what I was watching looked like garbage.
It's
I
looked
understood what they
so
were going
much
for. I
worse
think.
than I thought, because you warned us, Ken, and I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm ready. It was real bad. It's bad.
It's this weird art style that I go look it up on YouTube if you're listening. Jack the Giant Killer or Slayer or whatever intro. I like the poem. It looks like trash.
It's
I don't know why they
horrible.
did it that way.
I did find it odd that it starts off with the giants come down, and they're sort of innocent, and it says that they learn greed from, like, the royalty of men.
Yeah.
Which didn't
But
quite
then-
make sense, because then they just start eating people.
They're
You're
like, well, and when we meet them later, they're like bad guys. But
And that makes Eric seem bad.
right, but then also
Yeah.
the like moral of that story is like royalty is good and saves good King Eric saves the day, right?
yeah.
And so
Yeah.
like which one is it?
Yeah.
Like it was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sure.
It,
Yep.
The whole thing
I
is
agree.
weird.
And it doesn't. It's not resolved in any way. It's just
No.
yeah. So
So then we cut to 10 years
that's
later.
the movie, guys.
Yeah, that is pretty much it. If you guys want to, but we cut to 10
That's
years
pretty
later.
much the movie.
We
Yeah.
cut to Jack. Ben,
That's the
this
whole story.
Picture number 2.
Okay.
Jack is heading to the castle in town to sell a horse and cart. Obviously, he's like poor, works on a farm. We know all that jazz.
What is it? Is it his hair? What?
Well, he's got
something,
like a comb
there's something
over
weird about
kind of
him.
thing going
What's
on
the
almost.
question?
I don't know. I wish you guys could see the
He's got that sweaty
images.
look.
I wish you. I need to share. Maybe
Well,
I
I've
need to
got
share
it
the
up here,
images.
but I think
Yeah. But when he's in town, he sees her putting on a play about Eric the Great. And he apparently loves this fucking play because he right away is like,
Oh,
screw the
hell
horse and
yeah, baby.
garbage, and he heads on in.
Yeah.
And when he's in
You
there,
see that puppet show.
right, he sees a hottie in the crowd. It's obviously the princess in
Oh.
disguise, Jasmine style.
During the Willow.
Hold on.
Yeah,
They're
Willow's
doing-
there.
Yeah, Warwick Davis, R.I.P. I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Did he, Pat? I thought they were gonna do the whole giant story again in puppets.
You're like,
So
here
like
we go.
you get this 7 or 8 minute, you get this 7 or
Yeah.
8 minute intro that I liked, and then it cuts to him. He's moving the horse. He goes into the pavilion. He leaves the horse, which was his only source of income at that point.
Yeah.
And then I thought, are we gonna see the giant story? We're gonna get the beanstalk story again 3 minutes later. But they pull up on it and
They
they
kinda-
cut it short.
But that
Yeah.
is the I like I think what you're pointing out there is the scope of this movie is like they tell us one of their fairy tales, the whole thing. And
Yeah.
then the next time we
Yeah.
see anybody telling a story, which is like 30 seconds later, they're just telling the
Right back
same
into
story
it.
instead of
The
like
same story.
maybe like broadening the scope of the
And-
movie a tiny
yes.
bit.
You know,
That's
yeah,
what Ride
throwing
Ron.
a little
No.
like throw a little Merlin in, or throw a
Nothing.
it's sort of like sort of like somebody wrote up a scene where okay, he's going to encounter the princess at a puppet show. What story are they showing? And somebody's like,
Yeah.
well, Jack and the Beanstalk. And it's like, yeah, but we already, I mean, that's
We-
the movie,
yeah.
and we also already told that story.
Apparently
Do
that's
we want to
the
bring
only
somebody in to
story.
like, do we want to do like a Merlin thing or
No.
like a
No,
King
no,
Art?
dog.
Jack and the Beanstalk
Well,
again.
let's do Jack and the
JB,
Beanstalk
do-
again.
Yeah.
Hammer in home. Yeah,
And like, yeah, that's apparently the only story in town or something.
that's all there is. And what's the name of their city? Cloister, which I
God,
hate.
I have no idea.
Crawl or craw?
Craw.
What's the name of that?
We'll get to him in a second. Oh wait, but he
Crawl?
sees Jasmine in
It
the
is Craw.
audience.
Yes, Jasmine.
And
It is
well,
Jasmine.
It's it's pretty much
It's
she's like
Jasmine
the princess
from Aladdin.
in disguise.
It's Jasmine.
And of course, some guys start bugging her. He is like, "Whoa, watch out!" You know, he stands up for her, all that shit. And so when
Classic,
he's
yeah.
doing this, like he's standing up for her, and like the royal guards come behind him. And so at this point, he like thinks he's being all tough because everyone's standing down to him, and that's when he goes, "Oh, someone's standing behind me, right?" And this joke will come up a couple of times throughout the whole movie.
2 hours later, at the very end of the movie,
They do that throughout the movie, though. There's like a joke
they?
at the beginning, and then there was like 1 or 2 others that
There's-
they did the same
I
thing
think
with.
3 times that they
Yeah.
do that direct callback. There's somebody behind
Okay.
me, isn't there? I should have
Like,
written all
I don't
3 of them
remember what
down.
the other ones
There are
were.
3 of them.
I know the
happen-
2. I know
Yeah.
the 2.
But so
We'll
they
find
do
the one
that.
in the middle.
The knights come for the princess. Yeah. So Jack goes
Whatever.
back outside. His cart's stolen.
Although,
Sucks to be him.
You know, here she makes no effort
Oh,
to protect Jack.
she
Who
is. Yeah,
just
she's not
saved
like.
her from
Yeah,
Lord knows what.
not even a thank
Like-
you.
Right?
Nothing.
Yeah.
She gets on the
She
horse
doesn't
and
even
she's like,
look
a
at him.
bye.
See
Yeah,
ya.
She
nothing.
looks the other way. She deliberately, she's on the horse behind Obi-Wan, and
Yeah.
she looks the other way, and he
She-
doesn't get anything.
Yes. Which I thought
Yeah.
was like the rudest.
It's
Like he
weird.
stood up for her and all this, and then she's like, gotta go, and just leaves.
You gotta make her make sense to the audience, right?
Yeah.
So like, yeah. Anyway,
I don't
But
know.
what she acts very princess like throughout. Like
Yeah.
there where it's not the Jasmine of like curious
No,
about
she
the
is
street
more-
rat. She's like, oh, they found me. Well, I'll go back to the palace. And then it's the same
Yep.
thing at the end later when they climb all the way back down the beanstalk and they get back and
I
she's
guess
like,
I'm-
Yeah.
puts her armor on and she's like, hey, did anybody see where Jack went? And she's like, yeah,
And-
whatever.
Yeah, I know. You're
Ah,
like,
shit.
you-
And spoilers: Jack has no horse, no house, absolutely nothing
and
at
they're like,
the end of the movie.
"Bye."
He's like,
Yeah.
"Damn, I'm gonna put on my gold armor and bounce. You good?" Yeah,
Right?
Exactly. It's
yeah
so
you're
weird.
absolutely right.
But then
Yeah.
again, it's not like he's done anything to earn her love.
Oh God,
Like,
no.
Nope.
so that's the thing is like you're gonna go through this
Yeah, you're
movie,
not
and
rooting
normally,
for him.
Emily, I interrupt you about 500 times
That's
because I
fine.
have a lot to say, positive or negative. And in this movie, I feel like I'm just gonna sit here and listen to you tell me about it again
You're
because
not,
I don't. But like, what is there to say?
There's very little.
Everyone
mean-
is
Like, he doesn't do
acting.
much.
Everyone is acting normal. The guard.
Yeah.
Well,
Ewan
they're
McGregor is
less
acting
than
like
normal,
the
though.
guard. The king is acting like the king. The general's acting like everybody's just
Yeah.
playing their.
Yep.
They got goofy costumes on.
Yeah,
I love
it
the
is
costumes
weird.
in this.
A
I
general?
love them because I think the costumes in this ultimately sold it for me because
I
if
think
you
just
had
Ewan McGregor did.
we'll get to that. I'm going to
Yeah.
compliment him for sure. If you had scaled back the costumes to be more realistic,
No,
this movie is even worse.
it'd be way
right,
worse
because-
because then you're like, what are we
Because
doing?
then there's nothing. Then there's
Yeah.
nothing. And the CGI giants would clash even harder with realistic armor and stuff. Instead, you sort of get these heightened outfits, I
Yeah.
think.
The medieval
The
hoodie.
I think they work better. This is a
Medieval-
rare case where the
That's a cool
medieval
thing.
hoodie works better for the movie. Right?
What
Like,
is the
what was
general
the-
wearing? Hold
Just wait, Ben.
Like, he has, like, a
Wait. He
monocle.
does. And like
I don't.
he's the guy, the hunter from Jumanji. If you dressed up as
Is
a
that who it
general.
is?
No,
It
is
might
not. But
actually
it
be
looks
him.
like
Oh.
him.
It could be him.
It is someone
If you
else
told
though,
me
who's
it
like
was,
really
I would
famous
believe
when
you.
I looked it up, and I was really surprised.
He's got
don't
like
remember.
2 lines,
Yeah,
and then
but
he
it's
gets
like someone
smushed at some
who's,
point. Spoilers.
which is also people die in this left and fucking right.
Yeah. See, I'm really honed in on this being like a weird 80s, like, because you go back and you watch those
Yeah.
movies we watched, and
I know,
it's
and
like,
you're
whoa,
like, what the fuck?
I don't remember that dude getting cut in half on screen.
Right, like they show it the whole
Right,
time
it's just-
too.
There's no blood, but the dude just whoop.
Just like the general, his mustache, his monocle.
Everything's weird.
He's
about
from a
it.
different
Weird
set.
hat.
He wandered onto set. But then,
What is
but then
he
they
doing
also
there?
they do a pretty good. Like I love the king is being painted. We're almost there, and he's
Oh,
in
yeah.
this thing.
In that fake,
It looks like,
like
this.
fake,
Right?
yeah.
He's 6 foot wide, and it's funny just in
Yeah.
general. But then he steps out of
He
it.
steps out and
you
he's like
see that
5'7".
Fixed,
He's
And
like a
it's a
little
fixed
guy.
shape.
Yeah,
it's on a stand, right? Because he could never carry it himself.
I like the king. I think that
I like that. It's Ian McShane. That dude is an excellent
think
actor.
part
I
of it
love
is
that
that-
guy.
Well, like, what's
it's
going
weird,
on?
though, because a lot of the
He needs a
characters are
paycheck.
decent.
Why
though.
is he the king? Like, why?
You just why'd someone
Doesn't
pay him to
matter.
be the king?
Yeah,
Okay,
you got
but
paid.
well, here's the thing: we cut back to the castle, and Stanley Tucci
Stanley Tucci.
is Roderick. He is the
I
king's
forgot
advisor.
he was in this.
And Ben, this picture number 4, and I forgot the princess is 3 because nobody really cares about her.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
And
Whoops.
he's the king's
That's
advisor.
Not the right thing.
Him and his creepy little friend are heading to his room, and they find out it's
I
robbed.
hate that guy.
His friend's name is
The
like
goon?
Wiki or whatever.
You guys talking about the goon?
Yeah. So
The
he finds
worm.
out like it's robbed. He looks around. He's like, "Oh shit, something was taken." He looks in something else. The crown is still there. That's when you're like, "Oh, you're a bad guy. You got the crown." And they're like, "Shut down the town. Find the guy. All that crap." In the meantime,
What was he waiting for? He had the beans and
it
the
didn't
crown.
make sense. I don't know. It's weird.
It's a
So,
stupid question because
it was
there's
a
no
monk
answer for it.
that robbed him. And so then Jack is like, there's the monk who's trying to get away with the crown and the beans and all that shit. Or not the crown, the beans. He goes to Jack and he's like, "Hey, I'll buy your horse." And of course he's like, "I don't have money, but I'll give you these beans." If you just stole those beans, why would you give them away to get away? What are you
Right.
doing?
Because
Right.
all he
That
wanted was
doesn't make sense.
No, he didn't take the beans to have the beans. He took the beans away from Stanley Tucci.
Okay, but you're gonna give them to some stupid kid where if they literally get wet, they
Because
and
all
zoom
he
up a
all he
beanstalk?
cares about is not getting caught with the, if he gets he
Yeah, but
knows he's number one suspect.
No, it
He
still
knows
doesn't
he's number
make
one
sense.
suspect. Now he gives away the
But you know what you'd be better off doing? Like, go hide them somewhere and walk away.
But the worst thing he could do is hold on to them
You could-
because he
Just
knows
go
he's
hide
going to
them.
get caught.
You could literally just toss them into a fire.
Yes.
It's the medieval
Anywhere
time.
else.
Can you?
Yeah, they're not going to grow in a fire.
Do they
They're not gonna
burn?
get
They're magic beans.
Well, they're still going to be in the ash. No
They've
one's
lasted 1,000 years in King Eric's tomb.
Like, okay.
You know, you're being a real bean.
You're being
I
really
was
dick
trying to-
right now.
Like,
The
you sound
goon.
like Big Bean. That's exactly what Big
Yeah.
Bean wants you to think.
Oh, wait, we've skipped past several of my notes. I wrote Burger King crown when the
No.
king is in his
Well,
painting
we're about
outfit.
to get there right now.
That's right now?
Yeah.
All right, okay.
So the king is yelling at the princess for running outside the castle, I guess. She's complaining that she isn't fragile, which you're like, shut up. And then we cut to Jack's uncles complaining about him. He's like saying how he's useless. So it keeps going back and
Oh,
forth.
the
Jack
uncle
and
was
her.
the worst.
The uncle is like, your dad sucked and you sucked and all this crap.
Uncle sucks, but the worst guy in this is the worm. Stanley Tucci's sidekick
His
is
BFF.
unbearable.
Oh, the goon.
So
But
the
he gets his
uncle,
comeuppance. So
right? That's true. The uncle, when he's telling Jack he's a piece of shit, hits the beans onto the floor, and of course one goes under the floorboard. We all know what's gonna happen there.
I
you
was
know
really
the story from here.
I was really hoping that because they don't have food, they were going to have to slice
Oh
one
my
of the
god,
beans.
Mickey
A
Mouse,
bean?
baby, Mickey
So
Yeah, like
Mouse.
thin.
Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
bread
it's from Mickey's
is
Christmas
Okay,
story
see-through.
or
But
whatever.
I
can see
showed,
through the
I
bean.
told Ben the one time, and he had no
Yeah.
idea, and I was like,
no, I always have had
I
an
have
idea
a
about
vivid
that.
memory of them cutting
I
it.
told you about the bean.
No. No possible way. It's like tissue paper. It's so thin and it
Yeah.
like flops. And they're like, here you go, Donald. Like, man,
Yeah.
that's one of those 80s shows that, again, you would watch and go, what the fuck? But I love it. Love it. Anyway, the bean goes under the floorboard. Yeah, the king's crown looks like Burger King crown. Like if you made a big plastic Burger King crown, and that's what he's get painted in. And then the king is like, hey, guess what, princess? You're going to marry Roderick and you're going to shut the fuck up. He's not that mean, but that's pretty much what he says. I found it weird that she's going to marry Roderick. But also she's like, hey, Roderick, still love ya, but just don't want to be here. And he's like, gotcha. They're on good terms. Okay? There is nothing wrong with Roderick's life. He's going to be king eventually, right? He's going to marry the princess,
Sure.
like all this shit. So I don't know why he turns evil necessarily when he's in a real
matter.
good position.
Look at
So,
this. Here it is.
no
the
reason.
the
He's just a
see-through
bad guy.
slice.
Oh my god, I love it so much. Like
Yeah,
I just
I remember that.
he cuts at that
It's-
one bean.
And it's
like,
drawn
oh,
so well.
I love
It's
it
almost
so
like you
much.
can. It's almost like you're holding the knife.
Yes.
And you have to feed
God.
your 3 Mickey Mouses.
I remember I had that on VHS along with a couple others that were in there, and man, I loved watching that baby. But okay, so of
Oh,
course
yeah.
that night the princess sneaks out again because she's like, I love adventure.
Yeah, that didn't last very long.
which
So
is,
says the king. Wait, that's one of the other ones.
what?
She says when he's like, you're
Oh.
not going out.
King to
So
her.
says the
Yeah.
king.
Yes.
That comes up again.
That comes up again. You're right. Roderick checks in with the monk who took the beans, and he essentially is like, he's a liar, blah, blah, blah. He kills him. And that's when you're like, Roderick's not very nice. He stabbed that monk and killed him. Okay, cut to Jack. His roof is leaking. It's raining like crazy. We all know what's going to happen. The princess was running away to nowhere. I don't... What?
She
You
went
live
out
in a
for like a.
castle. I don't
She
know
went
where
out
you're
for
going.
a ride, but then suddenly it's midnight and it's raining.
Yeah, so she sees his little house and is like, "Hey, can I come in?" Which I don't know, is weird. He knows it's her right away.
Oh,
Yeah.
hold
Go
on.
for it.
she has a hat on in
it's
this
like
part
a weird
that is like the most styled wide brim. It's the only way I can compare it to anything. It's a cosplay hat to
Oh,
the
yeah.
point where like The brim
It's
comes a
like
little too
a
low, and the
little.
side comes up a little too high, and the feather's a little too big to be realistic, and it's a little too blue to be real. Like
It
it's
is
sort of
weird.
like, it's done in this exaggerated style. And she also exits the castle in it, and she walks right
Right.
past Roderick, and
Yeah.
it's like, you're in the castle.
Like, who else would that be? Like, you're just like, hi, when you walk past. Like,
Yeah.
I like how he does a double take.
he does, but he's
And
like, nah.
that's the thing. He looks back at her, and it's like, who else would that be? There's like the cook or something.
Yeah.
Like,
Who else would be like going home for the night? Like, that doesn't.
Meh.
Oh,
In
makes
my
no
later.
sense.
What's crazy to me about the hat is it's like a $4,000 hat in the equivalence of whatever this world is,
That
right?
is true.
And she also has a really nice like cloak on once you get a good look at it and stuff. And it's like, you
It's
can't
obvious.
dress too nice, because then who's this mysterious stranger in the castle and all this high-end gear? And he can't dress too poor, because then there's a poor person in the castle, and we simply won't allow that.
That's not
So-
going to
Right.
happen.
Like, anyway, it's a cosplay hat, and I
Yeah.
love it, and I want it, and I'll pay for it. Anybody who's willing to make
I was going to say,
that
send
hat.
it to, and then you say your
Right.
address to.
Right, P.O. Box 131. Savit, that's a real P.O. box, but we don't own it anymore. So
Ah, darn.
Shoot.
So as soon as she gets in Jack's little, it's essentially like a hut. You can say
Stanley
house, it's like a
Tucci.
hut. As soon as they get in there, she's like, "You like books? I like books." And he's like, "You like books? Because I like books." And right away,
Oh
you're
my
like, "We
God.
get it. You guys both read
Yeah,
the same
we-
fucking story that's all over town. Like, we all know the
Yeah,
story,
that's
you guys."
the only story there
it's
is.
the only story there is.
So stop acting like you're connecting. It's literally one story. And so he's like, "Do you like
They're
adventure?"
connecting.
And like all that crap. And anyway, they're
I'm connecting.
being annoying. Suddenly, rain, a little trickle, got to that bean, bursts through the floorboard and starts attacking them.
Right.
Isabel's trapped in the house. Jack
Is that her
got-
name?
Yeah, Isabel. Jack got like thrown out, I guess. I don't know. He's like outside of the house for some reason. She
I don't know.
she
No,
keeps
he
being
fell all the way to the ground,
no,
remember?
that's at the end.
Okay.
I love how you're
I
like,
don't remember. It's a
He-
giant sea.
He's
Honestly,
outside.
this scene,
It's crazy.
you know it's coming
Yeah.
because of the premise, the high level premise of the movie. It's telegraphed heavily, and and I don't know. I feel like I'm so used to this sort of garbage where like
Yeah.
this is supposed to be a big scene. I tune out. Okay, make the beanstalk. I don't care. Like,
But also, you're just like, hang on. Like, I'm like yelling at her, even though in that situation, you'd be like, ah, like the whole time. But I'm like, calm down. She's stuck in the house. He's outside. He like kind of climbs up the
like,
stock and
axes
he's by
on
the
or
house
something?
and yeah, all this shit.
yeah,
Essentially, then he falls, grabs her arm, but he grabs her like cuff, which rips off of her.
oh,
and
that's right.
he
yeah.
falls like legit 75 feet though. I don't know how
Yeah,
he's
he would
alive.
die. Yeah,
He falls, he's passed out, whatever. The house goes up to the sky. The next morning, he wakes up with the king in his face and he's like, "Oh, you got my daughter's cuff in your hand." Okay. This is when they're interrogating him. "Hey, where's my daughter? Blah, blah, blah." There's a fucking beanstalk that's like 50 feet around, zooming up to the clouds. Nobody says a goddamn thing. Nobody's like, "Hey, what's
Yeah.
this?" Instead, they're like,
Yeah.
"Hey, do you know where the princess is?" And he's like, Are we not seeing the
yeah.
beanstalk?" And then once he's like, "She's up there," they're just like, "Start climbing, boys." Like, it's a normal fucking thing. I don't.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess that's.
But
Yeah,
again, this is like fairy tale short story type
101?
stuff, right? We don't have time to talk
I guess.
logistics of how
It's so
the
weird
beanstalk
though.
is able to support its own weight, What are the odds that the bean would land in the ground and grow straight up to the edge of the island
Not
in the
just like,
sky?
"Ugh,"
That,
yeah.
which by the way, no one has ever noticed the island in the sky.
Nope. Never
Uh,
noticed.
it's you. I
There's so many
enjoyed this
things.
movie. You gotta lean into the fairy tale. It's silly. Don't ask
But-
why.
Well, I kind of like
Doesn't
the
make
idea that climbing the beanstalk almost like teleports you across planes, right? Like you travel to the
Yeah, but that
land
was
of
not
the
the case
giants.
here.
Uh,
You could like look down
Nerd.
and see the
but
castle.
what I was wondering is
Sure.
everybody was so nonchalant about there being a giant beanstalk
Yes.
that like is magic weird stuff happening all the time, or are
But
they
they
just
didn't
and
act
they're
like
just
that.
nobody was like holy smokes the legends are real. They were like okay
No.
well we got this
That's
giant
true.
beanstalk,
That's
it's
true.
back.
Because when
The
they're
beanstalk is
climbing-
back. Let's go climb.
When they're climbing, Jack is like, "Well, what if there's a giant?" And they're like, "Giants aren't real, you idiot!" Like,
Well,
we're
you didn't seem to have a
climbing the
problem. We're climbing the
beanstalk.
beanstalk. Of course they're
what do you mean
real.
they're not real.
What? That's the weird. That's what the weird
That's-
disconnection that kept happening.
You're
Is they were
right.
like they would say stuff like
You're right.
giants aren't real, but they're on the beanstalk, and they don't seem to think that that's a big deal.
You know what this movie needs? This movie needed a sage wizard instead of the stupid general. It should have been.
Yeah, someone
Air
to like
quotes,
set
Merlin.
the rules.
It should have been a Merlin who could like. And all you got to do, you got to have him do. He's by himself. He's up in his tower. Have him turn a coin into a bird, and he sends the bird away or something. You know, just establish that magic is real, right?
Right.
And
Yes.
that the beans are a real. Have him page through a book, you know, and have
Yeah,
him sort of
right?
be around, but not a
Something.
major player. Yeah,
But
I think
instead,
you could do that.
I don't know. It was weird. Anyway, they're like, "Get your boys up. Let's start climbing." This one we meet
Oh.
Elmont. Yeah.
I was gonna say, again, going back to my '80s movie. If I saw this movie as an 8-year-old, Ewan McGregor, my hero for life. Like
Probably, yeah. I can see
who-
that.
as a 30-something, as a
I will admit I liked him
28-year-old
in
man
this.
right now, he's pretty hokey. As a 22-year-old man, myself watching this, he's really lame and his costume's garbage and his hair is junk. But if I'm 8, like
You
I
have, like,
want
the
to be
same
Ewan
hair
Mc-
and
I
the
want to
same
be
mustache.
Elmont. I
But
want to be
also,
Elmont.
I think like
For sure.
Elmont is the real. He's the real winner of this.
He's the
movie.
real hero.
He's the
He's
hero.
the hero.
He's the actual
Jack,
hero.
Absolutely.
Jack's name should not be on.
We
the
will
cover.
see that
Jack
he is
does
the
not.
hero throughout the entirety of
Which
the
is-
movie.
Which is again fairy tale, which is cool to have a white knight. It's cool
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you know, I'm all about I want my characters to have arcs, and Elmont has a little bit of an arc,
Yeah.
but it's still White Knight. He still is always
I
trying
like
to
that he's
save
cool.
the
I
day.
like
He
he's
just
cool
goes-
from A to B.
He goes
is.
from being
Yep.
like kind of like
He's a
like
little
a
stuck up.
good guy to being like the hero. Like he goes from
Yep.
being good to being great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like him.
Yes.
And at first I thought I was not gonna like him. This picture number 5, Ben. Because I thought it was gonna be too goofy. And in the end I was like, I like him.
He's
I
cool.
liked him a lot.
He's
That
He's cool.
picture
He's
also
cool.
has
He's okay.
crawl in it.
Yeah, it has crawl. Okay, so here's the thing. I thought he kept telling this guy to crawl.
Yeah.
He kept being like crawl.
His name is Crawl.
And then I figured out his name is Crawl. Like,
And
okay.
the other guy, his name is Bald.
Yeah.
And he's
yep.
bald.
Exactly. He kept being like, okay, crawl. And I thought he was telling the next soldier to like crawl through the situation, whatever
No.
the weird vine.
Nope.
Nope, his name is Crawl. So
I think
that
this
was
again, I think
interesting.
this is fairy tale. I think it's very like name the characters very directly type thing.
I
I don't know.
It took me a while. But yes, I totally agree with that. But Elmont is Ewan McGregor. Him and his best boys head on up. Roderick wants to join, of course, his
Tall and
creepy
bald.
friend.
I
Jack,
hate that guy.
Of course,
God.
wants to go.
Bald or Crawl?
The
no,
slime,
Wiki.
the worm tongue.
Yeah, worm
Wiki?
tongue guy.
Oh, the
I think
goon?
his name is Wiki or Wiki.
Oh, speaking of wizards and Roderick, as soon
Speaking of
as
wizards.
Roderick's on the screen, Emily's like, "Is that the king's wizard?" And I was
He
like,
would have been a
Okay.
good. You could totally use him as the demonstration that magic is real,
Okay,
right?
this is so.
But she's like, isn't that the king's wizard? And I was like, based
looked at
on
me.
what information? Like,
Okay,
I
he-
don't know.
But
It's
no,
like
no,
that
no, no.
first
gotta-
scene.
Wait.
No, the first scene where he comes in and he goes in. He's like, my beans are. You know,
No,
he realizes the
walks in
beans
a
are
room
gone
that
because
has a
from the
bunch of,
monk.
He's
like,
got the
test
he's got a
tubes.
classic
He's
wizard
got like
tower.
the book on the pedestal, the shit. It's a wizard's tower. And I'm like, so
The
is he the
wizard
king's
tower.
wizard? And Ben
Yeah.
looked at me and he was like, what the fuck is a king's wizard? All this shit. And
Are
I was
you
like,
an idiot?
Exactly.
I know
Kings
what
have
a king. I
wizards?
know,
What the Exactly. I
No,
was
no,
like, he's
no.
the wizard.
How do I
and
mute you
Ben,
guys in
Ben
Twitch?
kept looking at me like I was insane. I was like, you know, like the wizard for the castle. And he looked at
Yeah.
me as if I was like, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, thank God somebody gets it. Kings
I
have
was-
wizards, they have bishops, and they have jesters. They will sometimes have a fourth, worm tongue type thing, but typically one of those three roles fills the worm tongue.
I was getting so mad because he
King's
acted like I
wizard
was
doesn't know what a
insane.
king's
well,
wizard
keep
is.
in mind, Roderick admits later that he fills all three of those roles.
Okay,
He says
but,
that in the movie.
But
He
like
does.
you can tell from the room he was in, and I was like, yeah, he's like the wizard guy of the castle, and Ben was
Yeah.
like, what the fuck are you talking the whole time? And I was like,
didn't
what
say
am
it
I
like
going?
that.
That's exactly
Wow,
how
Ben,
you
you're a real jerk.
I
You
was
looked
like,
at me and you were
so
like, what are
is
you
he
talking
is he
about?
the wizard? And I was like,
Yeah, like the castle's wizard, the king's wizard.
I don't
You
know
go
what
to
you're
him
talking
to be
about.
Like, make me a spell.
he
for
didn't
blah-"
do any
like,
magic. I
I feel like
love
it was
wizards.
so obvious. I was so upset though.
Is he
that
like
I
the
said this.
advisor? Is he a guest?
I
Is
said
he?
this though, and Ben acted like I just said, "Is he the king's elephant?" And I just couldn't take
He
it.
didn't
is
do
all.
any magic. I didn't know if he was the wizard
You
or
could
not.
see his
They're
room.
gonna- They're gonna reveal that.
Wizards don't have
obviously.
goons. No, Jafar's got a
true.
goon. No, Jafar's
he's
got a
got-
goon.
No, they have
He's
a
got
they have a familiar. It would have been
Yeah.
a pet. It would have been an animal.
You're right.
I just right away was like, "Oh, that's the."
But although
and Ben acted like I was insane. I was so mad. That's all.
here's a fun twist.
You were acting
If
insane.
if Stanley Tucci is the king's wizard, I would have loved if it was revealed that his shitty assistant was instead of like, oh, I turned my assistant into an owl. What if he turned a rat into his assistant? And it was just dumb as
And
rail.
that's
Wouldn't
why
that been
he was so
perfect?
dumb and weird.
That would have been perfect, though.
It's
I know. Why
It's
didn't they
just
do
like-
fun stuff like that? At
Oh,
least?
that is so good.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
no,
I'm
no, no.
sorry that I
Ignore him.
screamed,
He's
though,
an
into
actual
the
rat.
microphone.
Right?
Okay.
He's got like when Peter Pettigrew turns
He's got-
back to human. Yeah, and he's like,
Right.
Yeah, he like acts a little weird. Okay, I'm sorry
Oh,
I
I
got so
found-
angry, but
It's just like no, sorry guys. I pulled a worm out of the soil
Yeah,
and turned
made
him
him
into
my
a
little-
person. Yeah,
that's why we call him Worm Tongue.
exactly.
right.
Okay, so Jack's talking to Elmont about giants, and everyone's like, "Giants aren't real, you idiot." Okay, we're climbing a giant beanstalk, but
Sure.
no problem.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so in a storm, someone gets struck by lightning. They're all tied together. And when they all start to fall, Roderick's like, I think we should lighten the load. And so Wormtongue
man.
like cuts the rope. And Elmont's like, what the fuck happened down there? And he's like, oh my God, the rope broke. So Roderick's a douchebag. We all know that.
Yeah.
This didn't feel like they were.
Which Elmont is really sad about that later, though. And I liked that. He was like, hey,
Yeah.
the rest of my guys had like all the supplies. And he kind of says
Yeah,
it
like
he
I
kind of has a feeling that Roderick did something, but he's also not like
Yep.
saying you did something. But because he can just tell that Roderick's doesn't really care that like 10 people died or whatever the heck it is. But
Yeah.
I don't know. You kind of like
I
him a
think they
little more
hand out-
then.
They get to the top and they hand out a little bit of food, and
Yeah.
Roderick's like, "What is this?" And he's like, "My men had all of the food, right?"
Yeah.
And I can't act nearly as well as Elmont, but it's well done. It's
Yeah.
conveyed that he doesn't trust Roderick.
Did you
Yeah.
see later when they cut to the dead soldiers that fell and all the food is splattered on the ground all around them, broken out of their packs?
I didn't even notice that.
Like
Didn't
there's
notice.
it cuts
But there are
like
lots
the
of
next
cuts
morning
to
it cuts to
legit dead bodies.
the dead soldiers
They're
are
like-
smashed
Yeah,
on the
there's-
ground.
There's
Yep.
a lot of
There's a lot
death
of
in
And
dead
this
all
bodies.
the
movie.
food and rations are spread out around the
I mean, that makes
splattered.
sense.
I was more struck by the fact that those men had not exploded on impact. What
Yeah,
from
it
what
would be a
appeared to be
hot
like
mess.
30,000 feet.
Right.
Like
You're above the clouds
They're-
and you fall. We got
they're
a
at
situation here.
airplane cruising height. You know. Yeah.
Right?
Do you think was that scene more to show that Roderick is a bad guy, or was it just so they didn't have to have all those extras in all the scenes in the giant land?
Both.
I felt
I'm sure it's
like they were
It's both.
cutting the
cost
extras to
saving
be
measure.
like, it just
Well-
it didn't.
They cut down to a few people and then they quickly
They didn't.
snapped off a few necks and they were like, we're down to 3, or whatever the heck
It
it
was
was.
stuff
think
like that. Oh, go ahead, Ken.
Go ahead, man.
It was
Oh.
stuff like that that kept me from. Like a lot of times I have no problem being in the movie. And then later when we're talking about it, we could rip it apart. But a lot of times I'm at least
Sure.
believing it. And for some reason I had a hard time believing this movie a lot of times. Unless it was
I think they just had to go quick. And it was like
Yeah.
very
That's it.
shortened.
The beanstalk in particular is not a hill to overcome. They climb
No.
it. A couple
They
guys
get up
die.
there.
It's really not an inconvenience to go up or
Yeah.
down the beanstalk.
yeah.
No.
And they
Yeah.
could have taken honestly just a couple extra minutes to show because they climb it seemingly in one day, which
Yeah.
seems unbelievable.
And even half of it's through rain, like a storm.
yeah.
So
they
it
could've-
must not be that bad to.
And there's your opportunity to show like weakness and strength in certain characters, and like Jack is trying, like they never really show that Jack has a hard time with
Has a personality.
most of this
Jesus
or a
Christ.
personality, right? Like you could have had
Yeah.
a good scene where like Jack doesn't know who to trust between Roderick and Elmont because he doesn't really have a
Yeah,
reason
That is true.
to trust either one of them,
Uh-huh.
right? Other than the king's agents. So
Yeah.
you could have spent a couple more minutes on the stalk
But yeah.
and be like,
nothing.
"Yep,
Stop.
that's what she said."
Okay. The next.
That's what he said.
The next morning, Jack wakes up, climbs up the rest of the mountain just by himself, I guess. He's up top, clouds part. Behind him is a rock shaped like a giant's head, waterfall coming out of the mouth. The house is nearby. They check it out. She's not in there. They're like, oh my God, footsteps up by the waterfall. And this one, they're like, why would she go up? I don't know, because I popped up by a fucking land. Like, why would
a
I
magical
not go up?
land?
Get onto land.
I'm not gonna go better you down this like 3,000 foot or whatever.
I'll just stay
beanstalk.
in this house on
I
a
don't.
beanstalk because I'm assuming I'm gonna get
But-
rescued.
But
Someone
when they
will-
question that, someone is like, "I bet she's looking for adventure," and you're like, "I'd be like, shut the fuck up, Jack."
I don't think that's the case.
I don't
Yeah.
think that's it. But whatever. As usual, no one is questioning that there's a giant rock shaped like a troll giant head. No one is like,
Yeah.
"What? Where the fuck are we? There's land up here." Everyone's like, "Wow, should we explore?" There's a rock in the sky. Are we not going to talk about this? We're not, apparently. Roderick immediately pulls Jack back and he's like, "Give me the fucking beans, you little bitch." He does not play that he's like a cool cat. He immediately is like,
Yeah. He
"I'm a
goes
son
for
of
the
a
throat.
bitch. Give them to me." Jack does,
Yeah.
but he keeps one secretly, hides it in like a
Mm.
weird rock necklace thing he's got going on.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't. Anyway.
I don't know what that's about, but Roderick is
did
like, "Don't
make
say
me-
a fucking word," and then he walks away.
It really made me wonder though when that was gonna come back. The whole movie, I'm like,
Well,
when's that
they
bean
cl-
coming
They
back?
clearly were like,
Got that
"We
bean."
need a place where the bean can't get wet," which apparently his necklace is like waterproof. I don't. It was stupid.
Whatever.
Okay, so at this point though,
Oh,
when we get up top,
It's you know what? Sorry, his
Yeah.
necklace is like hermetically sealed. because he actually
Oh.
spends a lot of
Yeah, a lot
time
of time underwater.
underwater.
I was waiting for that. Nothing happened. Yep, I know. And at first, I thought he held it up, but no, he's underwater, and yeah, it like was have like a rubber seal going on here because it doesn't make any sense.
Must have.
Oh, wait, when they get to the top though, there is Jack, Elmont, Crawl, he's a good guy, and then there's Roderick and Wick or Wiki who are bad guys. Those are literally the only guys who climb up the beanstalk. Okay, let's all remember that there are 5 people right now, and they're looking for Princess Isabel. Okay, so right away they find a herd of sheep and they're like, who's hungry? No one, again, is questioning. There are fucking sheep up on top of this rock in the sky.
In the
That's fine.
sky.
Whatever.
Is this part of the original story? That I feel like the sheep are part of.
I have no clue. I feel like
Is
just
Jack
sheep
and the
and
Beanstalk
giants.
written down somewhere, or is this just one of those?
I feel like
2,000
giants
year
like
old
to eat like sheep and livestock and shit. But I
Right,
don't
that's
know.
what I'm saying. But that had to have come from somewhere.
I'm sure
Someone
there's,
made
like,
up
a-
this story.
Actual written content. I don't know.
It
if I
felt.
find
It felt. What I'm getting at is the fact that there were sheep at this pond
Yeah.
felt like part of whatever the original. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm reading
No,
too
I
much.
agree. But what I thought was weird is that they're like, "Who's hungry?" Which I'm like, "What are we gonna like butcher a whole goddamn
Yeah, I didn't
sheep
understand.
here?"
What are they gonna
Hell
like, make
yeah,
some
baby.
mutton quick?
But
Get that lamb shank.
they go to try to get it, and a giant like net comes out
They've
of the water.
just gotten there though.
Like literally just walked up there. A giant net comes out, and of course, again, they're just like, "Let me get you down." No one is like, "Who put a net up here? Why is there a net up here? What?" Like
No time.
none of these
There's
questions.
no time.
Also, okay, whatever. So a giant like pops out, essentially. Craw's hiding. Jack goes down the water. All this crap. The weird thing is, so why is there a net? Because he just grabs a sheep right away and like bites off its head.
Right.
So I don't know why we need a net, like to catch
Uh,
the sheep.
I want to
don't-
linger on this. The giant kills a very young, beautiful sheep. Like,
Ken knows his livestock,
This is when it
and this
begins.
sheep was too young to
But
be eaten.
the
This is a-
ferocity begins.
this
here.
is a
Right away, he
state
pops it up like it's a
fair-
chip. Like,
Oh yeah,
just,
like love
"Huh."
those brains.
like,
Mm,
yeah.
mm, mm, mm.
But
And I think he even
grabs it
tosses the
easily.
body.
So you're like, so you don't need the like
You
the
don't
net
need the
doesn't have to
trap.
catch up. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are we doing with that trap then? I don't know.
I'll tell you what, it's really scary though when Craw starts to run, and this dude, that giant, closes the
I
distance.
love that.
Yeah. I
Three
did like
steps.
that.
I counted them, and they show Crawl. He runs for like
He is.
10 or 15
Booking
seconds.
A while. He's
Right?
running. You're like, oh, he's
They
getting
let
away.
And that guy's like,
Dude.
boom, and he just slams him
That
down.
actor, he sprinted multiple takes, 60, 75 feet, and the giant goes boom, boom,
Mm-hmm.
boom. And the
Wham.
third step hits him.
Yeah.
It's
Wham.
1,
Done.
2, dead. It's like,
He is done.
it's really cool. I like that
It's
shot.
scary how
See,
fast he is.
At first, I like that.
Yeah.
I just don't like what they then did with the giants and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Yeah. The
But yeah,
giants
so
are
he
the worst
he
part of this.
catches Craw and he catches Elmont too, because he tries to like help Craw and all this shit.
Craw.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And so he walks off with both of them, and okay, the pond is like a 3-foot deep water area.
Oh, it's 8 inches.
If-
Yeah. It's like perfect for you to lay
Jack,
in. But also be
imagine
able
if
to-
you're in a bathtub as a kid and you're like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna go underwater. And it's where the water is like your nose is sticking out. That's where Jack is. And the whole time he's like, he can't see me. You can fucking see him. Like the giant would
you-
be like, you're right
Like
there.
we can see him.
Yeah, I can see
They
you.
show that you can see him in the water.
right. They're showing that the giant can see him.
But the giant's like, I don't know, the whole time. And you're like, he's right there. He is literally, and Jack can see, like, I don't, that part
Yeah.
drove me a little insane. But
Yeah.
anyway.
I agree. agree.
Okay. So we cut to Roderick and Wiki, whatever.
And bald.
And all of a sudden, they're with the third guy. where the fuck did this guy come
Yeah,
from?
where did Bald
Yeah.
come from?
Bald
Because I
wasn't
thought
coming up
everybody
the
got
vine.
cut off. Everybody got cut off
Doesn't
the rope.
matter. Doesn't
All-
matter.
All of a sudden, they're with the third guy, and they're like, "Hey,
None of it
Bald, what's
matters.
up?" Like, I don't. Where the fuck did this guy come from? But anyway, they're like, "Oh my god, look, is that the princess down
Oh,
there?" And
this
they
is
they
so
pushed him
dumb.
off the cliff, and which
Oh
is
wait,
stupid.
there
And
she
right-
is, and they're looking off
It's
the
so
edge.
Stupid.
They're not looking
But
into like a
again,
valley.
Again,
It's
but again,
fairy tale standard.
There she
Yeah.
There she is.
I love that this works in a fairy tale setting, right? Like Roderick leaned over the edge, eyeing for
And-
the princess,
yeah.
but saw nothing. But he yelled
Right.
nonetheless, right? There
Oh,
she
God.
is. There she is.
Well, they
And
killed
Hey,
Bald
everybody
in
this
immediately.
Everybody is
But-
dumb when they need to be dumb, and they're smart
is
when they
true.
need to be smart.
So they push Bald off the side, and Wiki is immediately like, "Oh my god, I can't believe everybody yells when they're
Oh, that
about to
was
die."
sick.
And as soon as
Love
he does
that.
this, a fucking giant grabs him and bites his fucking head off immediately. Like,
Love it.
like before
Round of
Roderick even
applause in
turns
the
around, it's
theater.
like, "Snap, bitch!" Like,
Whoa.
which right away you're like, "Too quick. I didn't like it's too much. I don't know." And then before he can grab Roderick, he pulls the crown out of his bag, and you're like, "Oh shit, came prepared." So
Oh,
he's
shit,
got the
he's
little
got
crown.
it. Yeah.
Okay. Then we're going to cut to Isabel, the princess, is in a cage. And there's a giant asking her a bunch of questions.
boring.
All this
I'll be right
crap.
back.
Yeah, it's stupid. The giant, you eventually find out, has two heads. One is like, I don't know, stupid? I don't like. He's like, blah, 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 blah,
Simple?
blah. Like, he like can't talk and shit, though.
Yeah,
It's
he's
dumb.
simple.
Anyway.
He's always like this. Like his
He
eyes are really wide?
He looks like a cartoon, and the main one looks like if you did a 3D of a person. And this one's like a cartoon that's on his shoulder.
Yeah,
and I
it's
hate it.
really kind
I don't like it.
of lame.
I don't like it at all. The giant shows Isabel to everyone. A bunch of giants complain that they can't like eat her, and they're all fighting about it and all this shit.
And of course,
Wait. I feel like I want to wait for this part.
of
for Ken.
course, they can smell that she is of Eric's bloodline.
Oh, that is true.
And they remember.
Which I don't mind that. I just
They remember
wish
being
there were
down there.
more
These
of that
so they're
then.
like these great immortal beings.
I don't know, but also, okay, so I wrote down there's like no women giants. I don't know how they're getting giants, period, then. But then I read in the, like, for making the movie, they didn't want women giants because they didn't want them to show Jack killing women.
Okay, but he doesn't kill very
He
many
literally
giants.
kills one, if that. And it's like by accident. And
Well, but there
also,
are no
like-
giant children, and they're immortal. It
that's
tells
what I
me
mean.
that
So
they're
where
not.
the fuck are all the giants? Like, I don't.
Well, they're not necessarily born, is what I'm saying. Like, I
think
get
they
the
just
impression
popped
that
up?
these are that they were created somehow, some
No,
way.
That's stupid, though.
I don't think they're like a.
But why created by who?
I don't know, the gods of this fairy tale world.
No, you're wrong. Wrong.
They don't. Well, there's
Wait,
no women.
why would you
There's
create
no
them?
children, and they're immortal.
But why would you create them if then they eat people? That doesn't make any sense.
They didn't always eat people. They learned that when they came down to the material
Why are
plane.
you talking like you're like a professor right now? Well, the fact is, they didn't always do this. Well, I don't know. Okay, I need to take a bathroom break.
Okay, we're gonna have a Twitch timeout. We need a hold music.
Are you gonna do a do 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 do?
Dude, it's just gonna be me sitting here
okay,
like
well,
this.
It's gonna be you. I'm sorry, I have to go back.
Hello, everyone. And I could complain about my sore ankle while we wait for everyone to return. We used to have a board gaming podcast, though we don't play board games anymore. So that's not true. But we've been playing a lot of unlocks lately. They've been kind of fun. Emily left us, Ken. It's just us now.
All right, where'd we leave off?
She was talking about how when they get brought into the big giant's room for the first time, and there's no women giant, there's no children giants, they can smell that Isabella is a air of King Eric.
Descendant of Eric, yeah.
They can
Okay.
smell it. So what I was saying is they're immortal beings. There's no females. There's no children. They do not reproduce, as far as I can tell. They were
Yeah.
created at
Okay.
some point, and that's all the giants you'll ever have. They're this sort of like mysterious and proud race that lives in this other world. And who are we to say that they need to die? Like, I don't know.
there's a weird, because when King Eric forges the crown, he can command them and he banishes them, right?
Mm-hmm.
To this seemingly, what's the word? Paradise in the sky.
Yeah, and it's their original home, right?
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Remember, this beanstalk was created by the monks to try to reach heaven, and they initially reached the
Where-
land of the giants.
Where in the movie was that said?
That's the very first thing in the poem parable at the beginning. You were probably distracted by the bad CGI, but the
I
very first
was.
thing that's said is that the monks created the magic beans to try to reach heaven, and instead they reached to the land of the giants.
Oh, that makes
don't
more
remember
sense.
that.
So why are they trying to get to Earth then? I mean, who
Well,
cares?
once it was there, the giants climbed down, and then I don't know what turned the giants evil. That's the part I don't quite understand.
I think it was just like they smelled men and they, I don't know, wanted to eat them or some shit. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe they would have enough. Maybe they would be satisfied. Maybe they
Just
could.
rewatch
Maybe
the whole
they.
movie.
Maybe we should let the giants rule us.
Maybe they should just do shit.
What are you-
Okay,
are
I
you
wanted to
in
wait for you,
Spain?
Ken.
Are you listening to yourself?
I wanted to wait for you. Sorry, yikes.
Mm-hmm.
We were at the point. Isabel's in a cage, and the giants bring out Kral and Elma all tied up. And this is
Yeah.
when we're like, oh, thank God, Kral's alive.
I thought he died when he got slapped,
Oh man,
but he's
Boy,
still
he-
alive.
boy, does
But
he
we're
get
like,
it!
oh, he's alive. And right away, they're like, hello, humans, whatever. And he's like, fuck you. And they're like, huh? And they like snap
Yeah.
his goddamn head off immediately. Like,
They don't
After
show
all that,
a lot of deaths in this movie, but boy, if this movie does one thing well, it conveys death off screen horrifically.
it's
Like,
frightening.
there are snaps.
is.
They're like about to, and then they cut, and you can hear
It
that.
cuts
like-
and you hear the sound, right? And you get the
So it is, yeah, everyone else is.
holy
so-
shit.
Kral's dead, guys. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah.
So we're down to Elmont, Jack, Isabel, and Roderick. Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
Everyone
this
else
is
is dead.
Stanley Tucci's green screen moment. I hate
God.
this part.
I hate this. So the giants are all pissed at each other. Who's gonna eat the princess? It's stupid.
Whatever. Who
and
cares?
then he walks in with a flippin' crown on his head, and he's
Course he
green
does.
screened in
it's,
2 inches high.
he had it.
important. It's important that we stress he is essentially Stuart Little, right? He is,
Okay.
and he's shot that way.
This
He
is
doesn't come in
Yep.
sort of grandiose and all ruling. He's shot from 60 feet in the air.
It is. I hate it.
You're
And-
right. It's
Okay.
almost like he should have a little tail. It
Oh, yeah.
really is.
He's a mouse, and I understand that they're trying to convey size,
Yeah.
but what it
But the
fails to
way
do
they
is
do it
convey
does
any
not-
sort of. It doesn't make him seem like a threat. It makes him look like a mouse who
Yeah.
has temporary control
Well, this whole
over
scene.
giants.
And he like stands on their chair, and you're like,
Right?
oh, you're like a
he
baby.
like scrambles up the
Ugh.
throne, and he's like, I'm surprised they didn't change his voice. Right?
Like when he's like making the one two-headed giant, the Etten, bow to him, and he's like lower. It's like
Right.
Yeah, he
it's
keeps
so-
telling everyone to bow to
It's
him.
like
and all
it's
this shit.
cringy.
not.
Yeah.
It's not convincing at all. It
That-
doesn't.
No.
Where most of this movie was like blase, whatever, it passed by.
Sure.
It was fine. Sometimes I was in it, sometimes I wasn't. The only part of the movie, the only one time that I was like, ugh, was when
This
he was
scene is
making that
weird.
Yeah, I
giant
don't like it.
like bow, and he's like,
Yeah.
this is just weird.
And it is, yeah. So he tells him to bow, and essentially he's like, put your face to the floor, all this crap, and it's not fun.
Whatever. Nobody
Anyway.
cares.
So then he tells about his plans to take over the land. He's like, we're gonna go battle tomorrow. The princess and Elma at first are like, oh, thank God he has the crown. And instead it's like, he's like,
Sure.
fuck you.
Little twist.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we cut to a giant is making Elma into food. Okay. So this is like the big
Oh,
food
can
scene.
we? I'm gonna let you rush through this. I hate this part. This is such a waste. This 15
Okay,
minutes of wasted time.
but-
Go.
Well, at the end of this, I want to ask you a question. Okay, so he's wrapping him up in dough. It's pigs in a blanket. There's 2 pigs and then Elmont's in one.
Classic.
Okay,
Pastry
so
dough looks very well made.
Pastry
The
dough,
giant
though,
is gross.
apparently is the hardest thing you can ever get through because Elmont cannot rip this shit to save his
Can't
life.
punch
Okay. The princess
much
is in a
butter?
cage. Jack comes in. He sneaks in all this shit. He like sneaks a knife to Elmont, who's like trying to cut that like Pillsbury pastry crescent roll off him and all this shit.
Mhm.
The giant puts Elma into the oven, which is like
Yeah.
I think it'd be like dead ASAP, but
It'd be
okay.
pretty cooked. It doesn't
It'd be
matter.
cooked,
Yeah.
but anyway.
Yeah.
And also he takes toothpicks, he stabs each of the
man.
pigs, which I was like, ugh, I feel like I don't need to
Again.
see this.
Again, off-screen death.
Off screen, but it's like boo, boo. And then he goes
Like-
to Elma and it's like between his legs, of course, so it doesn't kill him. But it's this thing where you're like, you then see the
Ugh.
pigs and they're like
They're dead.
they're dead. You
You know what I'm
fucking ugh, okay. But then so Jack goes, I don't know, up above there's like tools and knives and shit
Yeah,
or something.
whatever.
I don't know,
It's like a
hanging. And so
cooking
he grabs the
rack or-
princess. He's about to like cut off her head.
Oh,
to
this is messed up.
make
Yeah.
her into something. I hate this part. Jack takes a knife off like the little hanging
Which
thing.
The knife is
The
like
knife is the size of him.
18 feet long.
Yeah.
Right?
And
Compared
if you
to
like jump down with it, which I feel like you couldn't do that.
well, and
you couldn't lift it, right?
He's not heavy enough to add any meaningful
No.
weight to a 20
Like,
foot
if
knife.
someone gave me a 20-foot slide on top of a deck and I'd be like, can't hold, like, it
Yeah.
wouldn't work. It doesn't, but anyway, he jumps down. The knife stabs.
Oh,
Ugh, I hate this.
this
He
is
stabs a
yucky.
giant in the back, like,
right? It like goes
right, the
through.
shoulder blades, like, stab. And
Put
he's
on your
flipping
3D glasses
out.
now. The knife goes through the giant's
I
spine. I
hate
think
it. I hate it. He's
it's
running
really
around.
gross.
Trying to get it out, all this shit. Eventually, he like bumps up against the wall and it just goes through more and kills him. I hate it. He's like, "Bleh," and the whole time you're like, too much. It's too much like graphic.
Oh, I
This
think
is-
we have
don't
an
like
image
it.
for this.
I don't like it. Yeah, there is an
The
image.
cook.
Number 6.
The cook is gross.
The
whole situation is gross.
The
way
whole
he
situation
dies
is gross. Elmont finally like gets out of the puff pastry, which is like, dude, I feel like it should
You're
like
cooked.
should not be
Yeah,
that
he's
hard.
roasted
though,
at that
but
point.
he is roasted.
Oh,
I
I did
hate
have
it.
I did have him in the pig in the blanket. Let me see if I can get this in here really quick. Window capture.
You have like a picture?
Yeah.
Oh, and you have like the other one.
Here we go.
Okay.
Hold on, is it on
Yeah,
Twitch? Do I
it's
gotta go
on-
back into?
Yeah, you have to go back to Twitch to see it. But I hated that he like couldn't get out of it. It's like, shouldn't that be easy? I don't know.
I don't know. I guess giant
Maybe it's
pastries are
hard.
not particularly delicate,
this
right?
is my
the
question
pigs
right
seem
now.
really happy.
So
Right?
let's
They're loving it.
think about this though. The giant compared to the knife and Jack and all this shit, how big do you think he would be at this point compared to Jack?
Ooh.
Like the giant. How tall, how
Okay,
like big?
yeah, it's a good
Size-wise.
question.
What are we
So-
talking about?
Jack is
Jack
about
on him
the height
It's like a
of the
hamster.
knife handle. Yeah.
Okay. He's like
Jack
4
is
or
about
5
6 inches tall.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So how tall do you think the giant is?
Well, if
Total.
Jack
30
is
feet,
6
maybe?
inches,
I feel
What
like
would
the
that
giant
put him
seems
at?
so much bigger in this one, right? He's like rolling them up. Like they're essentially the size of a
Oh,
hot
hold on.
dog, right?
if he's the handle of a you're just love a hot dog as a unit of measure. Let's stick
Right.
with
How
that.
many hot dogs tall?
So he's probably 20 hot dogs tall.
Okay. So then later when they're fighting all this other shit, you're like,
So
you're,
if you and they're way shorter at the
They're
end of
tiny.
the movie.
it
Right,
doesn't
the
They're
make
like
giants
sense.
get
way
smaller
shorter.
throughout the movie.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I tried to look it up, and they're like, the giants are supposed to be about 25 feet tall, and I was like, no fucking way.
I think
No,
they're
'cause
25
if
feet
you
tall
and
by
his-
the end.
If you were a hot dog, like imagine no.
I
If
think they're
you and
25
is a
feet tall by the
6-inch
end.
hot dog, and the giant is 20 6-foot hot dogs, what's that put them at?
A lot of feet.
Holy shit, that's huge.
That's huge.
That can't be right.
I
And then
think that
later
the
they're
giants.
having trouble getting into the castle because they're like 10 feet. Like they're
They're
like,
only
"Look,
20
look,
feet
they're
tall."
not that-
I
Yeah.
think they're
not that
25
tall."
feet tall at the end, but like when Roderick is making them bow,
first-
he's like the size of like a nose.
They're like
He-
100 feet tall.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
Stuart Little, and they are so effing big. And
Yeah.
then later, they're like, I'm as tall as this 10-foot tree. Like, they're teeny.
Because in the chase scene where they're chasing them on horses,
Doesn't
they're
make
like
sense.
14 feet tall.
Yes.
That's
And
about it.
So
I gotta
my
go back to the
main, my
pictures.
main
We'll
problem
find
is
something
the
here.
perspective and the size-wide
Yeah,
proportion.
that's fair.
It's
I do
always
not,
changing.
it always changes, which makes no
Yeah.
sense.
Here
And
we
I
go.
hate
No,
that.
perfect. All right. So if
Do you have
they
a good
were,
picture?
if they were,
As big as they were in the food scene, they'd be huge.
right, but
Like,
here
Yeah.
they're
huge.
here
Yeah.
in this picture they are like 25 feet tall. But in the food scene, he's like 100 feet tall.
Well,
Do the
like,
humans
Elmont is the size
shrink
of his hand. Like,
as
he's
they
like,
go up the beanstalk? Because anytime humans are in the giant land, they're like mice.
It's true.
See, that
Maybe
would
it
make
is a
sense.
magical
Maybe
world.
it is something like
It is a
that.
magical world.
At least that would make sense.
I am making excuses for
For
poor
shitty.
editing and planning on this movie.
We're like,
Yeah,
I
look at
think
that.
we
They're-
know.
That's not any taller than
No.
30 feet maximum.
But in the food scene, it's
Imagine
like,
if they
yeah, it's like if you had a person that
Oh,
was
in the food scene,
teeny
they're
tiny.
100 foot tall.
They're
Yeah.
they're giant, so it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Okay. After so Jack kills one guy. When he does kill him too, he's like, and he's very happy, creepy, weird.
Kind of like that.
And then
Now he's the giant slayer.
well, okay.
Now
you,
he's taking
like,
a life. He wants
Accidentally
blood.
killed one, and then Elmont's like, "Good job." Jack seems so proud of himself, which you're like,
yeah.
okay,
What do
yeah,
you think
that's
it's
fine.
like to kill a
But
giant?
it's
Elmont's
weird.
proud of
What do
him
you think it
too.
feels like?
Elmont is, but he's
He
a knight.
tells him he's proud
That is
of him.
his shit. Like that's his job. That's your job. Anyway. Ba 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 ba. Okay, they're having like a fucking party at the Beanstalk downtown. So downtown
yeah.
at the Beanstalk,
It's like a
there's
carnival.
Peasant-
there's a carnival
Peasants
going on.
love big ass beanstalks. They love
People
that shit.
are crawling around. There's like lights going on. Like there's shit happening there.
There's tents. There's parties.
They are good to go. The,
Golden
Hell
armor.
I said-
Generals
I
of
I
the
wrote
wrote the
monocle.
hunter from
Tonight?
Jumanji is there. That's
Everyone's
the
in
general.
cosplay.
The general
I'm
has
gonna
a
let
monocle.
loose at the beanstalk tonight.
The general has the mustache, and he's got a full
we-
weird, creepy helmet going on. He's got
As
everything.
insane as the general is, there's absolutely no point in talking about him because he's irrelevant.
He has one line, two lines max. That's it. The king is like, "What do you think?" And he's like, "I think what you think." And that's
Oh
about
hell
it.
yeah!
Yeah, that's
hell
it.
yeah,
He's
brother!
Yeah.
Right?
Hell yeah.
done. Jack is fixing up Isabel's hand, and he's like, "Thank God you ran away, because then
What
we
did
know
she do to her
Roderick's
hand?
crazy." I don't know. She like hurt it somehow.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
And he
Who
was like,
cares?
if you didn't run away, then we wouldn't know Roderick wanted to take over. Jack, shut the fuck up. Like, what are you taught? Like, he's like, it is
Jack,
so good
read
that you.
the room.
So Jack's an idiot.
No,
Anyway,
Roderick would have assembled his giant army and they never would have known if she hadn't run away.
you would know because there's a fucking giant beanstalk. I'm so annoyed that nobody can know it's a giant
The
beanstalk.
beanstalk
Yeah.
isn't anything to comment on. It's normal. That's when you pull out the carnival tents. That's the only thing that it
Party
does.
at the beanstalk,
It signifies
baby.
that it's carnival time.
Good point.
Okay.
Good point, Ben.
The-
You're right.
Oh
We
my
shouldn't
gosh.
care about the beanstalk.
I found a picture of Roderick on
Yes.
the throne,
Okay, show us.
but it's
please.
just him doing a stupid
That's
grin.
fine. That's fine. That's perfect.
I'm behind on Twitch. It might be loading. I love the costumes of the king's like knights and soldiers. It's
I like
just
just
it's
Ewan McGregor.
just
I like him.
it's just a little bit over the top. It's
Yeah,
just
it's all
that juicy
costumey.
bit.
It's like a play.
Yeah,
It's a little weird.
right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Which
It
I like.
looks like a costume, and I'm into
I
that.
just wish the story was more like that. It's like they
Right.
did the
Yeah,
costumes
yeah.
and then they're like, meh, meh, and it just,
Yep.
yeah. So, Party at the Beanstalk's happening. In
Party
the
at the
rave.
Beanstalk.
Okay, Jack and
You guys going to
Elmont
Club
and Isabel,
Beanstalk tonight?
they
Club
are
Stock.
gonna follow the water back to the
Kim
edge of
Kardashian's head fell off at Club Beanstalk tonight. That's a very
the. You
niche
guys
joke.
won't believe. Okay, so they go to the end where the waterfall is to get down to the beanstalk, and there's a sleeping giant at the end, which also I find
Oh,
weird. They're
this
like,
is so.
but they're like, we can't get by him, and it's like, I bet you could. He's sleeping. Like you could literally just walk around.
Well,
him.
here's the thing. I hated this scene until I realized his butt is in the hole that they need
But
to
couldn't
get
you
to
just
the
walk
beanstalk.
around that?
100%, girl.
Okay.
Yas, yas. But
It's like if
also,
someone's like, well, there's the path, and you're like, couldn't we just walk right around the path? Like,
and the scene that ensues for the
it's
next
so
8
stupid.
minutes
So
is like,
stupid.
get effed. Walk around him.
No. They
Walk
gotta put
around
the
You're at
bees.
the
him.
edge of a cliff. You can literally, there's
So
anywhere.
stupid.
So, okay, there's a
So
sleeping
stupid.
giant. He's got a helmet on. And Jack is like, look, there's a bee's nest. He finds like a honeycomb. But, okay, again, the size situation going on.
Oh yeah,
He's
Bees are
holding a
giant-sized.
stick.
the giant has shrunk substantially.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. He's holding a stick with a honeycomb the size of, I don't know, 2
My
basketballs,
house?
let's say.
Yeah.
But like for him, it's like not that big. They put it in his helmet, which again should be the size of a house. It makes no sense, but all this shit. They put it in
Yeah,
his
yeah.
helmet. He gets up, the bees are like bugging him, all this crap, and he keeps
Also-
going back towards the cliff, but he doesn't fall. Yeah.
And the
yeah.
bees are giant sized.
Okay, that's
Now-
exactly my point. So the bees compared to
But
the
they
giant
weren't giant
were-
are
sized.
giant. Exactly.
The bees were human sized.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
And then once they're in his helmet, they're giant sized.
It would be like you have a robin-sized
Now,
bee.
is
the,
yeah, it's like a
giant.
hummingbird.
Because
like,
for him,
in your
it's still a
face.
bee size. But when Jack was holding it, they were legit bee size.
Is that a mistake on the movie maker's part, or is it them trying to tell us how the
Maybe
magic
we
of
as the
giants-
audience-
No, I think it's a goddamn mistake.
You know what? You're absolutely right. We as the audience are dumb as shit, and we don't understand giant floating sky
Ah.
island magic. And
Yes.
if we don't understand that, that's our problem, and
Wouldn't they
we
say
should feel bad.
something?
Once it came in that close of contact,
Say when.
this is why he couldn't.
Whence?
This is why he
Whence
couldn't eat.
once?
This is why they only eat the heads, because if you got the whole body that close, as close as the bees had gotten, it would become giant sized
Oh, it
inside of you,
transforms.
and you would blow up.
Whoa.
So the bees went in his mouth, and they became bee sized, right?
It's stupid.
Your ability to explain movies without explanation is astounding. Right? Your ability to do the writer's work is impressive.
You should get a job because.
Yeah.
So we think this giant's gonna fall off the cliff. He does not. And then one more bee comes out. Now, like Ken said, this bee would now be the size of an eagle.
It would be the size of a human.
Okay.
A grain of rice turned into a bald eagle on
Yeah.
his face.
Like in front. And that
It's
last bee
weird.
makes him fall backwards accidentally off the cliff, okay? Because he's an idiot.
Finally, we begin to understand
So-
why they're so big, though.
Do we?
Elaborate. Phil, I would love to hear what you have to say.
Let's continue on.
Without explanation.
Okay.
Anyway, that's how magic works. I'll let you guys go to bed.
I'm trying to figure out what the fuck is going on here. Okay. Okay, the giant's falling. Elmont is like,
I mean, we all know
Oh,
what the
wait,
real
wait.
problem was. If they made the bee the size that it actually was, you wouldn't have been able to see it. So they had to make it bigger
Right.
so it would show up on the screen.
but
that's
why
not-
don't-
But why
but
not?
why don't you make the bee is like giant size there?
Because then he couldn't have carried it
Yeah,
over,
should-
and none the sheep weren't bigger, the
Yeah,
plants
but
aren't bigger, nothing there is bigger. The pigs weren't bigger, nothing was bigger. How did they get? How much flour do they have to grow to make that dough for the pigs in the blanket? They don't got big grain.
Also,
Do they
seem
have
way
giant
too
fields?
stupid for all this. So I don't understand
First of
any
all,
of this.
you don't know anything about the size of their grain, so back off. But you're also absolutely correct.
The bees got
I just
bigger
hate
in his
the
mouth.
bees.
Bees in
I
the
hate
trap.
that.
Homeboy dies from literal bees in
Okay.
his trap.
He falls, but when they're all about to go down the beanstalk, Elmont's like, "Hey, you guys go. I'm gonna go get the crown." Which finally, I was like, "Thank God,
hell
someone
yeah.
is actually thinking about this properly."
I'm gonna actually we have enough goofing around. Somebody needs to
Finally.
actually save the day.
But of course, Elmont's like, "Jack, you're one of us," and I'm gonna be like, "No, just push him off the goddamn."
And he gives
beanstalk.
him a badge that
Like
we've
a-
never seen before
Yeah,
that
which I was
doesn't
like,
mean
what do you-
anything.
Right.
I'd be like, "What do I do
And it
with
says
this?"
BR. What is that? Like boys for real? What does that mean? I don't
It's
know.
so funny that you say that because
Party.
I didn't say anything about it at the time. I wasn't going to say anything about
It
it. But
says
when I saw
BR
it,
on it.
I was really confused. What is
BR?
this symbol and what are these letters? I couldn't figure out
What's
what they
the town
meant.
called? But the town
Doesn't
starts-
matter.
I don't know.
The town's called like
Okay.
Chilagon or something like that.
Cloister,
Well, that
which I
might
think
be
is a
R.
Pokemon.
Chevron.
Okay, the beanstalk party is
Chevron
still
is a
thriving.
fuel-
Is what I wrote.
Conglomerate.
The beanstalk party's thriving. The giant is falling.
Yes.
It's a group of
Shit.
monks that are like praying see it. Everyone stops. Okay, again, like you said, Ken, if that body fell, it would not be pretty. Okay, guys, it's not
Oh,
just gonna be a
like-
body that falls into a pile. This is gonna be like we are covered by giant. I'm sorry.
Pancake, right? Like the only thing that
Like-
would save you from being killed by body parts busting off of this dude is presumably the impact he would make, which would create some sort of blood reverse umbrella as he made impact.
It would be such a fucking mess. Instead, it's like there's zero blood. He just like,
Like, "Ah, I'm broken.
it's like if a
But
stuffed animal
At the
fell.
same
it looks like when
time,
it looks like when Andy dropped Woody
Yeah.
in
But
Toy Story 1.
here's the thing, though.
But can
It's
you-
like the movie makers felt like as long as we don't show any gore, then we can show it all. They
But you have,
show
you have a
him
fucking
just
giant falling from like
sma-
30,000.
they show him smack the ground and then be dead. And
That
you're
is
like,
messed up
kind of
that
like,
they're like
whoa.
he's dead.
He crushes multiple people.
He does kill a few, and nobody everyone's like that's fine.
They just kill people.
So this is when the king sees him, and again, the king's not like, fuck, like nothing. Instead, he's like, I think we should cut down the beanstalk because we don't want more.
Whatever happened to giants weren't
giants.
real.
Getting it.
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to slightly disagree because
Okay.
prior to this, we had a very brief scene where the man dressed as like a cosplay steampunk general
Uh-huh.
approaches the king.
Mhm.
And I think this could have been better, but it was good enough. He sort of says, my lord, your daughter's up there.
What's
We
up?
have to be realistic about what might come down.
Yeah.
And the king says, "Well, what are you saying? You think we should leave my daughter up there and cut it down?" He says, "I'm not going to say anything that you wouldn't sort of sign off on."
Mhm.
He does it much more eloquently than I just fumbled through. But
I agree.
this
yeah.
scene is like the king looks at him and he just sort of like
like
monocles up.
Right.
Well,
It's
It's
almost
like-
like I did actually like.
like
I
the
liked
king,
that
though.
scene because the general
okay.
brings up the idea of like maybe we got to cut this down without ever saying it, and then when the
Yeah.
king
Right.
says, "So you're saying we need to cut it down?" He's almost like,
It's like,
"I
I'm
don't
not
know if we
saying
should."
that,
That's not what I'm
but-
saying. I'm just saying.
It
I'm just
needs to
saying.
be an option.
Yeah.
It needs to be an option that we're continuously
Well,
considering.
I also
I'm not saying we
like-
should cut it down.
Again,
I'm just
though,
saying.
The king in this movie is not a bad king.
Correct.
He's a good king. He's
No,
like,
he's
hey,
actually quite
my
good.
daughter's up there, but for the safety of everyone, we're gonna cut
might
this
have to
thing
cut
down.
this down.
Yeah, and that's what he
She's-
says. So
And-
that's
and he
the
does
king
it.
has a very quick arc, and he says, "All right, cut that
We're
shit
gonna
down."
do it. Cut
And
it
he
down.
sorta has a
It
little-
sucks that my daughter,
there's a
like,
little,
he's
like,
crying,
sorry,
sad
my
about
wife-
stuff.
Yeah.
But he's
And I
like,
think there's even
we're doing it.
in a better movie, it would have more emotional weight. But he's like,
Mm-hmm.
he orders the guy to cut it down, and the guy won't do it because he knows the
Yeah.
princess is up there. So the
Right.
king takes his sword and starts whacking at it.
Starts doing it.
And it's
yeah,
like,
exactly.
okay, in a better movie, that would be a really sort of
I know.
swelling moment.
Instead,
But
you're
in this,
like,
it's like, it's a dude in a gold-plated
hey,
armor,
you
sort
guys,
of like whacking a piece
party's
of
gotta stop.
CGI
Yeah.
wood. It just doesn't work in this. It's not.
weird. Yeah, in this case, you're like, somebody help the goddamn king. Because
Yeah,
we're...
like, can you help him out?
Oh my
Not
gosh.
to mention cutting down a 30,000-foot beanstalk is like,
Right.
well, this could. We're gonna think about the way this falls, which
Nobody
spoiler,
thinks
they
about
do
that.
not think
do
about the way
not.
that it falls.
Spoiler, nope.
It falls.
No
Just
one,
right.
no one is like, should we get an
Right.
engineer in here? Nope. They're just like, who has a knife?
Yeah.
Let's get going. Okay,
Yeah.
so the army of giants comes to the edge of their, I don't know, cliff, whatever the fuck it is. They're ready to roll.
Island.
Roderick is in a tiny chair. They carry him around, all that shit. He pulls out more
Yeah.
beans for the giants to get down. I don't know why. Like, he's very proud of his beans. And I'm like, there's already a beanstalk. So I don't know why he keeps, like, showing them and shit. But whatever.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know.
Elmont was, like, taking a goddamn nap by the waterfall. He sneaks out all of
What's
a
he
sudden
doing?
and starts attacking
Oh,
Roderick.
he was waiting. Yeah.
Yeah. Because at first we were like, why is he just taking a nap?
He's gonna get
Um,
the crown.
Okay, this is
Yeah.
one of the best parts in the entire movie, I'm going to say right now. So him and Roderick fall under the little, there's like a waterfall with a little top over
Yeah,
it, little, I don't know, area, whatever, you
A
get it.
crevasse.
Okay, they're fighting. First of all, Roderick apparently is so good he can almost beat a knight, which I'm assuming Elmont's
Yeah.
like a knight, right? Which that is
Again,
stupid
He
right
should
away.
have been a wizard. He should have. Roderick should have been the king's
Yeah.
wizard.
Maybe he was.
So-
What's a king's wizard? I've never heard of that. I'm a boner.
Yeah, don't pretend like you know what that means, Ben. Roderick, or no, Elmont only had the little knife that Jack gave him because he like lost his
J-Dog.
sword and all this other shit. Okay, so at one point, the knife gets hit from him. Roderick's holding
This
Elmont's
is
head.
so stupid.
This is
this
so
is
good.
so
It's
stupid.
so good. He's holding
So
his head
stupid. This might
under
be
the,
the
water,
dumbest
like
part
the
of this entire
stream.
movie.
Okay, he's like
This might be the
drowning
dumbest
him.
part.
He comes up, he's drowning him. Elmont looks to the right when he's being drowned.
Underwater.
Okay, underwater.
Mind
and
you.
the,
Underwater.
Like,
he sees a little knife that's coming downstream.
Current flowing at his eyes. The knife
He-
is coming
He
at him.
grabs it in his mouth and looks up and stabs Roderick in the face while holding it between his
who
teeth.
thought
Who wrote this?
that
Go to
was an
go to
option?
hell.
Yeah.
Go to hell.
That's
You
so
couldn't
dumb.
give him
Loved it.
one-
I loved it.
like all you have to do is show him like quick knock, right? Give
Like,
Roderick
why
the
not
jump,
just grab it?
grab the knife, and
no,
stab him.
it's in
Or
his
the
teeth.
In the
current brings it
mouth?
to
His
his
teeth.
hand. You know, Same
Teeth.
exact
Right.
thing. The current wash it. He sees
Nope.
the current's going to wash it towards his hand.
And he, has his hand.
but
on it.
Right.
no.
Give him the-
Nope,
I mean,
mouth,
that's what makes him
baby.
a good knight, right? Is sort of situational awareness and battlefield presence. And no,
No.
I'm gonna lay in the river and I'm gonna do this.
Ben, I have picture number
Right?
7 for this. I don't know. what
Luckily,
that
he
one
got the
is.
handle side.
So he
That's like
slashes
that's
Roderick,
like an
though.
Ace Ventura.
Yeah,
Stunt.
it is like a goofy.
Ace Ventura would catch a knife
Oh my gosh.
and then stab a guy with it.
Somehow they fight more, and Elmont's hanging off the edge of the cliff waterfall. Roderick
yeah,
is like
this was
stabbing
also-
his hand, which also I'm like,
he's
"Ugh,
like-
I hate it. I hate it. I don't like.
He's like
don't do
effing up
that.
his hand.
Yes, I hate it so much. And at some point, Elmont gets it, so he grabs the knife and stabs his foot. And
He
then
puts his hand on his
stabs-
foot and he stabs the hand and it goes
Yeah,
through his foot
but
and
you're
it's
like,
like, ouch.
Dumbo. Like, what are you doing?
I
He then stabs his stomach, whatever, and he essentially
it was
just kills
so
Roderick.
lame.
It was stupid though the way it happened.
It was
weird.
super dumb. The whole
Um,
thing was like sloppy. And,
That
Yeah.
scene could have been so much.
Better.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't even want to
Also,
say that. Obviously, it
Elmont's
could have.
supposed to be
It
a
was
knight.
actually
Why is the
bad
other guy,
choreography.
like-
Every part
yeah,
of it.
it was.
That's the
it
thing.
was.
It's a
Yeah.
choreography issue. It's not. I mean, it's a bad scene either way. But
Yeah.
like, just again, I've been in thousands of fights. I'm very strong.
Same,
Right,
like
right,
I
right.
said.
I'm very,
Professional stuntman.
but like, just
You
logically
never
think.
wanna.
If I'm underwater, a knife
Drowning.
is floating
You're gonna
towards
wanna-
me. I'm not using my mouth.
Also, can
Right?
you
I
didn't-
imagine
well, when they
how
showed
limp
it,
the
they-
knife would come up and like just brush their face.
It was
They-
just,
It would-
They tried to sort of like show you, hey, this is gonna happen. I
Oh,
thought
they
it meant
showed
that
you.
the knife was gonna. He was in two problems. He's
You thought it was
drowning,
gonna
stab
and a
him.
knife is coming at him.
Oh, no,
But no,
baby.
the knife was the
gonna
savior.
pass through his
But
cheek.
I that was goofy and weird. I have more of a problem with when he's hanging off the ledge and like for
He's
some
like-
reason Roderick just can't get rid of him and he won't stop monologuing while he's stabbing him and then he gets stabbed in
Yeah,
the foot
that
and
is
dies.
true.
Like I don't know.
Well,
It
and-
was
and-
super weird.
and-
Because he's like by his
Elmont-
fingers. It's very easy to be like, bop, 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 bop. Like, just get the fingers.
Yeah.
And so
he was like
And
doing the where you
Elmont-
don't hit the fingers thing.
Yeah.
like the pirate.
And-
yeah.
Elmont doesn't display any sort of like intelligence compared to Roderick or
No.
strength
As
or
of that point, you're like,
it's like
Elmont, I
luck.
don't know how you got this position. Like, I don't know
dog.
what's going on, buddy. He eventually kills Roderick. And the whole time
Does he
Roderick's like,
yeet him? Does
"Help!"
Roderick
and all
fall
this
off the
crap.
island?
No, he like just gets stabbed and then kind of like goes limp in the waterfall area. And
Really?
then yeah, because
We didn't get to
then
have a Roderick fall?
Elmont's about to
Oh
grab
no, he gets stabbed in the heart.
He's about to grab the crown and the giants
Mhm.
come down and grab his body, so they steal the crown.
Oh,
So
but then he
this
just
is
gets left
when-
on the island? Huh.
Oh, he's just like his body's just like they like threw it to the side.
Oh, I
He's
have the
hanging
wrong
there.
image up. This is
Ye-
the princess coming back to
Where'd you even
the
get that
castle
image? That's not even
after
an image I gave you. You
This
don't
is-
have it.
after she
Oh,
was at the
This is
puppet
sexy
show.
princess. Sorry. I'm like,
Hold on.
what?
Hold on, I'm logging in to see Sexy
I'll leave it
Princess
up.
now.
Sexy
Yeah.
princess. Sorry.
As she blasts
When
onto the
was that?
scene.
Like
This is
for
when she's
1
coming back from
second.
the puppet show.
But 1 second, and then
In the
after that,
very
she's like,
beginning?
"Please,
Yeah.
Dad, please don't give me."
Why is she like that?
Because they're trying to make
don't-
her hot for 10 seconds.
I don't think anybody in this movie is particularly acting their heart out, but
No, no.
this lady does not make a compelling princess in this
No.
movie.
Well, there's
I-
no chemistry between her and
Oh,
Jack,
God,
that's
no.
for sure.
Zero. And I
Okay.
try not to knock
No.
actors because I think there's a lot of factors making their job
But
as
they
glamorous
have
and
zero
well-
like there's nothing.
zero chemistry. She doesn't really have anything to do other than be saved, and she's not even very good at being saved.
It doesn't help that you don't really like her. You don't really like him. So I don't really
Yeah.
care if he saves her. Like if they
Elmont
died, I'd be
is
like, I like
more-
Elmont.
Compelling,
it.
yeah.
That's all I.
Well,
Like-
I
his
mean, they could fall from the beanstalk. I don't care.
his hero's journey, literally journey, is just
Yeah.
beginning.
I like Elmont.
As he's about to get back on the
Well,
fast
hold
path.
up. Okay, so the giants grab Roderick's body though, and the giant with the 2 heads grabs the crown, puts on 2 fingers, which I hate for some reason.
Like
Sure.
always, they
I mean,
continually get
whatever.
smaller. Why is a human's head now the size of
Yeah,
2 of their fingers?
Now we're getting.
They're getting
weird.
smaller
No, but
in every scene.
I think that's
That might
that's
be
closer
proportional.
to them being mice.
I
maybe.
suppose.
Uh,
I don't know. That's a big head. Think about
I
how
don't
big
know.
that head is.
Yeah, but if
And
they
he's got
were,
big, thick ass fingers.
but if they
I don't
were
know.
like a,
I don't know.
know. I don't know.
They've got all
It's
this
just
dumb
weird.
armor from a war that never happened. Yeah, yada yada
from
yada.
what? I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay, so they finally get the Jack and Isabel are like halfway down the vine. They've been like making out and all this shit. Also, they're slow as shit. At one point, they can see downtown, essentially the party, and they're never like, "Hey, we're coming down." Instead, it's like they can see
Yeah.
it, but they don't. I don't
Sure.
know. It's
They
stupid.
could see it, but they decided to sleep for the night.
Yeah. And so they cut the vine down. This is when shit gets wild. So
Well,
the
they end
vine
up
is
they
like,
can't. They find out they can't
it's
cut it down,
going-
so they tear it down by twisting it,
Well, it's like twisting all over.
Is
the
that what it
fucking
is?
place.
and then it's like,
It's going
It
crazy.
pops off. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is when Elmont
goes
sees
wild.
it going down when he's up top and he knows he didn't get the crown. He's like, better get down there. He jumps and just fucking rides
Just
that wave
jumps.
down, baby. He
Right.
is crazy.
Which
30,000
I'm
feet
not a
down.
physics.
But I'm
not a
gonna say right
physics
now,
expert.
Elmont can do that. Okay, guys, Elmont can
Out
do
of all
it.
the characters we have,
Elmont can handle it.
he's the one
He's
who
good.
could do it. But
He could do it.
you're telling me Homeboy is at the end of a 30,000-foot whip.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it would. You're dead.
Like,
You'd be
he's
shot off
traveling
like a
at the
rocket.
speed
Speed
of light when that shit hits the ground.
Exactly. And he's like, whoop, he just jumps on like it's like an easy way
He
down.
just sort of like, you know what
Ugh.
this movie lacks, if anything, is a moment where he like grabs a
Physics?
shield and like
Okay.
skateboards off the end.
Oh man, I wish. That would be great. Okay, when they're going down, all of a sudden Jack and fucking Isabel, Jack's like, I got an idea. And he like George of the
Are you
Jungle's
sure
a
that's her
vine.
name?
Yeah. It's Isabel. What
Okay.
do you think it was?
I have no idea. I don't have any other options.
If you were like Victoria, then I'd be like, what movie did you watch? But he George
Oh,
of
yeah,
the
he-
Jungle's off of it
This
with
is
her.
so stupid.
When he's like swinging
So
around,
stupid.
and again, you'd be going at like 200 miles per hour.
All right.
Oh my god,
You
way
would just
faster.
be like, well,
You don't okay, you've got a huge vine falling. And you told me that you grabbed another vine off of the
right? Can you
original
imagine
vine
how fucking fast
and
you would
started swinging. That
Oh, yeah,
shit
baby.
would crack the sound barrier so fast. Like his hands would explode.
So they somehow
Ins-
make it down, slide into a field, all this shit. The beanstalk, first of all, everyone keeps running like under it. Like run to the side.
Walk
It's
to the side.
But the beanstalk's going towards the castle, and it like breaks the castle wall, but does not break the castle. It is so close, though. It's like they did not think about this situation at all. Anyway, that was very crazy. Everyone rides that fucking down. Oh, and Elmont like shoots into the water at the end, which again you'd be like, boom, you would zoom into that
Yeah,
goddamn water.
Yeah,
Like,
so he's on the end of the 30,000-foot whip, and he decides to
imagine?
use his momentum
like
to hit
400
water,
miles per hour into
which is
the
like
water.
would be possibly even like what speed do you have to hit water at for it to be the equivalent to concrete? He would spread across that water like jam. Like he would just the
Well,
water wouldn't even move.
Somehow Elmont makes it. Thank God. Okay, so the king is really sad because he's like, we cut down. Isabel's dead. Blah blah blah. Isabel's like,
Elmont's
hey,
jamming
she
the
walks.
water.
Isabel walks in. All this crap. Jack is like, here, Isabel, take this book about the beanstalk story to remember me, which is like, Jack, we all know the goddamn
Didn't
story.
you already
Stop
give it to her? Did she give it back?
I don't
But then
know.
the whole time they're like, well,
No, he found it. Remember when she got? If that's how he knew she had been
Yeah.
captured by something big.
No, I don't.
But he's
okay.
like, well, like just to remember me. We literally live in the same town. I don't.
Dog.
Remember,
Yeah, I can make you
could-
like a lord.
Yeah. Do you want to visit me tomorrow? Like, why are we acting
Yeah.
like you're going to France and
We
I'm
have
somewhere?
the
Like,
She's
what?
a
king's
princess.
purse
She's
at our
gonna
expense.
go
Yeah.
in the castle
She
and
can
never
do whatever
return.
the fuck she wants, and she's like, "Well, it was
Roderick got
great
cooked.
knowing ya." What are you talking
Hey,
about?
what movie am I thinking of where they're
could be
like
anything
going
at
into
this
a
point.
castle at the end and then they blow up the ground and drop a carriage down into the ground underneath it?
The Robin Hood Taron Egerton thing, but it's
Oh.
also Star Wars
Okay, yeah.
Yes,
okay.
it is that
with
one
Ben
where they brought
Mendelsohn.
it
What is that
down.
called?
It is just Robin
Yeah.
Hood. Is what it's
Rob-
called. Hood? Is it just
It's
called the Hood?
it's Hood. Is it the Hood?
I don't know. All right. For some reason, I kept getting that
Oh my
Castle
God, I
City mixed up with this
forgot.
Castle
I
City
forgot
in
about
my
that
head.
movie.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's
They
the
were
one
very
where
similar.
they're like getting blown apart and they're still going and shit. Okay.
Yeah, all the crossbows have like effing dynamite on the end of them for whatever reason.
Man, that movie sucked. Okay.
Wait, that was the one
Rob-
where Robin Hood was like rich, and then Little John was
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
He was like what was
it's
his
Star
name?
Wars Robin Hood.
Lil Jon was his name though.
Who's Jamie Foxx,
Jamie
yes,
Foxx.
right?
yes. And he was
Yeah.
like missing an arm or some shit, right?
No, what it doesn't
I
matter.
don't
That
know.
movie sucked.
Remember the sheriff of
movie-
Nottingham? Okay. Yeah,
That
you're right.
movie actively sucked. Like every scene sucked. Like it was
Also,
an assault.
The girl in that was
That
like
movie
the,
attacked me.
The girl was so Oh my god. Okay, that movie was horrible.
Oh, you're
whole
right. It
movie
was
was-
Star Wars because they had what's his face in it, the
It's
maker
Ben
of the Death Star.
Mendelsohn.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, where
yes,
he,
yes.
like,
Okay, yeah.
He's got that awesome jacket on where it's like, oh hell yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I got
He looks like
distracted.
Okay.
But I just kept getting the two castles in my head. They were mixing together in my mind.
Well, okay. All of
Yeah.
a sudden,
Pay more
We're-
attention.
back up top to the Giants. The Giants just
Yeah,
Roderick's
whatever.
dead. Blah
They're
blah
not
blah.
down
They
yet?
took his thing. No.
Wrap it up. Wrap it up.
The Giants find his little bag of beans, okay? All this shit. They're like, hey, let's do this. He blows the beans off his hands. They all start growing, all this crap. They start jumping off the beanstalk. But when they do, the main guy is like, fee, fi, fo, fum, let's get going. Like all this shit, which you're like, okay. Anyway.
Oh, I'll
when-
throw fee, fi, fo, and fum in the.
When
in
they're
the-
running off, though,
Yeah,
to jump on the
Fee,
beanstalks.
Fi, Fo, and Fum are characters. Go ahead, Emily.
When they're
'cause
running
I like
off
this.
they're jumping on Roderick's face like he's like a piece
Oh
of
yeah, he gets
and it is. They're just like bah, 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 on his face and his head, and
Like,
you're just like.
dude gets turned into mush.
But
But
also, they have no worries about being like, I'm gonna jump off this cliff and hope I catch this vine.
I'm gonna give them a point here.
Okay.
In terms
Go for it.
of because they throw the beans in, I'm like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah,
it's gonna
I-
go straight up.
It was like
Right, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
But they jump on and they pull it down. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I
Makes
also
sense.
was like, where
It
is
made
this
me
about to go?
wonder where the vines would have gone if the Giants
I
hadn't
guess
pulled
nowhere?
them down.
I don't know.
What's the next
Go up
level?
to-
Where
is
was
it
their
My Little
input?
Pony up there?
I don't know. Mount
whole
Olympus?
Could be.
So
Dacre?
Jack,
Tinkerbell?
Jack down below.
Jacob.
Did you say Dacre?
Like from
I said
Twyla?
Dacre.
He's reading a
Oh.
book.
I'm reading a book, and one of the gods' names is Dacre.
Dacre.
I thought it was
Dacre.
Jacob from Twilight. He might be up there. Yeah, the
Okay,
wolf.
so Jack's hanging out down below. He sees that the Giants and the Beanstalks are coming down. He rides his horse to warn the king and everyone because they're like trotting off and they're all in their little pile and all this shit. Poor Will. He was like, never mind.
Oh
Don't go.
shit!
Oh, no.
This is when the
I hate this
proportion
whole
of the
next-
Giants were totally off point. They are like the size of trees.
They've
and
only been getting smaller.
they should be a lot bigger. So that everybody's running towards the castle. The Giants are running after them. They're catching up. They're running through the trees. And yeah, this is when they're grabbing everyone. They're hitting them. They're stomping horses. Shit's going crazy. Oh, this is when the general gets his head bitten off. Like just
Oh yeah.
Snap.
Well, he
Just
falls behind
another-
and just dies immediately.
Shit. Okay, Elma, because he already shot down like a goddamn cannon, is
Right.
in the castle. Everyone is prepared.
He took the fast route back.
He took the fast route. So he is
Express
in the
lane.
castle. He's like, ready the archers, guys. Put oil in the water, like all this shit. Elma is ready. Archers are ready. We're good to go because he took the fast way. Okay. The king, princess, and guards get in. They jump over the, what's it called? Moat? The
Drawbridge.
Yeah, thank you. Drawbridge. Okay, Elmont, though, again, this is why I like him, because he's like, come on, Jack. And he's waiting for Jack.
Man, you
And
son
again,
of a
He's rooting
bitch.
for
He's
him.
not a royal douchebag. He's not like King's in, bop. He's waiting for Jack a little bit. Jack gets in, barely. Somehow the giants have shrunk to tiny giants. They're tiny at this point. They are
Yeah,
about size. They're smaller
they're like
than the
troll
castle.
size now.
They're trolls.
They're
They're
like-
little trolls.
15 to 18 foot, I would
Yeah.
say.
Doesn't make sense. So the main giant guy who had the crown on his fingers or whatever,
I don't know what his
he
name
falls
is. Yeah.
in the oil water, whatever you want to call it.
There's tar.
water on
Yeah.
file, yeah, tar and shit. What I thought, he died. Okay, so he's like, "Wah, help me!" And there's another troll who does not like him.
Well, does he not? It's fun.
I don't know. He's
It's fun.
weird.
Does he not like him, or is he just dumb as hell?
I don't
Or
know. He's iffy.
I don't know.
But
I don't know.
nobody helps him. I thought he died, and then a second later, they show him just swimming underwater like he's fucking
Oh, he's totally
carefree.
fine.
Yeah.
He's fine. So, okay.
whatever?
Anyway, I don't know why they don't just jump over the drawbridge or
Oh, they definitely
like
could.
they could. But they act like if they don't get this drawbridge down, they are doomed.
Right.
So
Remember
they're
how
working on
scary
that.
they were earlier when they were like running a million miles an
If a
hour?
person is this
Yeah.
size, you should be able to run and jump over that. You can do that. Anyway, Jack at this point just seems happy that he's hanging out with the princess. He does not seem
Sure.
to care
Hey,
about
girl.
anything else. But
Looking good in that gold
Okay.
armor.
so
You
You look good in gold.
Dang.
Is that what you're gonna?
Too bad I don't
Um,
have any.
So the king tells
Didn't the king give him a bunch of
Isabel
gold?
and Jack to go like light beacons or some shit.
Oh
I
my
don't
god.
know. They
a
go off in the
small
castle.
pouch.
Yeah, he's like, here's 5 shillings or whatever.
Right. Here's
So the
1 month's
drawbridge at this
pay.
point is like 10 humans versus 20 giants, and the giants cannot seem to open this goddamn drawbridge. There are
Mhm.
legit 10 humans pulling on
There's a
one side.
struggle here.
And what is the struggle? You are the size of like, you should be the size, one giant should be 20 humans.
There's a struggle.
It should not be this hard. Anyway, Jack in this situation is moving around the castle like he's got to take his time. So they're supposed to light a beacon, and he's like, the throne room. And he's walking, fucking move it, Jack. Like,
Yeah,
get
why did
going.
they get
And it's driving me nuts.
whatever.
Anyway, they start to get going, and then the floor starts breaking open. Two-headed giant, I guess,
Does he
swam
have a
under the
name?
castle.
I'm sure he has a
I'm sure he has a name.
Is that it? Oh my gosh, I didn't
And
think about
he
how stupid that was.
Bursts up
I was
through
tuned out
it.
at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, at the end you were like, here we go again. So
yeah, it's
He,
just like he breaks through the ground.
through the ground, I guess, and he
I don't
gets in the
understand
throne
that.
room and he's trying to find them. They're hiding in the king's cape, fake
Shoulder
cape.
garb.
Yeah. So they're doing that.
yeah.
So they're in there. What part am I at? He walks in the throne room.
I'm honestly on the edge of my
Okay.
seat right now. I don't remember how this guy gets killed.
So
Yeah, I don't either because I was
they
out of it.
run
I
they
did
run
not
through the
care.
throne room, and he has like a mace,
he's got like a
in
yeah.
the fucking castle. So shit's going down and breaking everywhere. They run around. He grabs Isabel, and he's like trying to eat her and all this shit. And Jack throws an axe at the little douchebag's head on his shoulder. And then he grabs Jack, and when he's about to eat him, Jack throws the last bean in his mouth.
I do remember this.
Oh,
Yep.
Okay.
yeah,
So
that's
this is
right.
when it goes in his throat. It starts growing ASAP. And this part is disgusting because the beanstalk starts coming out of every fucking
Shreds
which
that
way.
guy to
And
pieces.
The little guy is like, uh-oh, and his eyes like fucking pop out at the camera.
Oh, it's up again.
Was this a
put on
3D
your
glasses?
3D glasses.
3D goggles because
No.
they're going to hit
'Cause
you.
Boing.
That dude's eye, and it makes up. Like it does
Yeah.
the water droplet sound. It goes,
Yeah. And
And
it,
his
like,
eye
shoots
comes
out
at
through
the
their
screen.
mouth and all this shit, and they die that way. So that is
Put on
disgusting.
3D glasses.
And
now.
so Jack has now destroyed the castle as well.
Yes, the
Yeah.
castle is also going up in shambles.
I mean,
but
it's centuries worth of work.
the giants outside are still working on that
least.
goddamn drawbridge. They will not go around town. They will not go around the horn. They will drawbridge or bust is what their
I
motto
need you to
is.
walk me through the end of this movie because
Okay.
what I
So,
remember was
finally-
a fever dream because it didn't make any sense.
Finally, the giants get the drawbridge down.
Right.
Okay.
Here they come.
Elmont says close the gate, which I feel like should have been
Oh,
closed
that's
about
right.
an
Why
hour
Now
wasn't
I
it
ago.
already
remember.
closed?
Anyway, they're all huddled kind of in a corner. The giants walk in. They're like, let's do this, baby. They're ready to go. And then they start kneeling. Because why?
Oh, that's
'Cause
right.
Jack
Got
has the crown, baby.
There's something behind me. isn't
Yeah,
there?
this is when Elmont goes. Exactly.
Yes.
This is when Elmont goes. He's like, thinks he's all tough, and he's like, there's someone behind me, isn't there? And it's the callback
Oh,
to Jack.
shit.
Again, though, they act like
Hours
Jack's so
ago.
special. Jack has not done a goddamn
It
thing.
really
He
does.
threw a bean in that
Buddy.
guy's mouth.
That's it. That's it.
And he got the crown.
That's it, though. He is not
I
a giant
suppose.
slayer. Why is
how
that
you
the
become-
name of the
Praise
movie?
the giant slayer.
That's how you become king is luck.
Okay, but here's the thing then. Him and Isabel, best friends, BFFs. Then they essentially just sum it up real quick and talk. They're like, giants went back home.
Yep.
Isabel marries Jack. Dad Jack's telling the kids the same goddamn story. Here we go again. They made the crown for the trolls into the king's crown, I guess.
I
Which
didn't understand.
I
And
was
now
like,
it's the-
is that supposed to be clever?
I think it's
wasn't
supposed
quite
to be
sure.
the
Seems
royal,
pretty obvious.
the
I
like
don't-
England's crown jewels, right? Isn't
But-
it supposed to
But
be like
is that supposed to be like
the crown of England?
Oh
now?
yeah, and it
I
and it
didn't
jumps into
understand, though.
present day,
Yeah, so it jumps into present. They're putting it
Yeah.
like in a
which is like
museum,
why?
which I don't. We were never in the
Why?
present
I
day.
don't know.
It
Why?
would make sense if we started the story in present
I
day and then
don't
we're
know.
ending.
What are you gonna do? Beanstalk 2?
So,
I
Revenge of the Giants?
so
Right.
this is when it's weird. They're in a museum. They have the crown in there, and there's like kids on a tour. All the tour leaves, but one kid is still like jotting down
And he's like
notes.
eyeing it up, like he's gonna
No,
take
like
it
he's
or
gonna
some
steal
shit?
it. They look at him up close and he smiles all creepily, and then he puts shit in his bag. And I was like, "Is that supposed to be like Roderick's
Is that
bag?"
supposed to be something?
He smiled like like he was Roderick's,
He smiled like he was gonna steal
or like
it.
the second
Again.
coming of Roderick.
If
that doesn't-
Roderick had been the king's wizard, and
Right.
this
This is
child
his
had
simulacrum or whatever.
child Stanley Tucci
But
had some,
also,
you know,
Roderick didn't have kids, so I don't know why we're acting like these are
Yeah.
descendants of Roderick. Like,
They're
he
not.
didn't-
It's a
very
clone.
good point.
He didn't have
Oh,
any.
Yeah.
So then the kid is just like,
No, you
and
can.
then
Wizards
walks away.
can create clones. Haven't you ever heard of the Manchun Wars?
oh, now
Manchun-
suddenly he's okay with
Whoa.
Roderick being
So
the
now
king's
he's a wizard. He's a wizard.
Manchun
Well,
was a
well,
wizard
well.
who made a bunch of clones of himself just in case, and then he
But yeah.
accidentally, when he died, triggered that all the clones woke up at the same time, and all the clones thought they were the real Manchun, and the other ones were clones. And so then
Yeah, I
there was
mean-
this great war.
Okay, but this is the movie.
Obviously, who hasn't done that? Like that's so obvious. Like like I did the Ken clone. Like what do you?
I don't
Right,
understand
sorry.
what the end was. So it went
Yeah.
from a fairy tale in whatever
This is
14
classic.
something to like it's London currently, and there's a kid who's gonna steal it. I wasn't,
But then,
What?
why did everybody have goofy costumes?
and then
on?
it just stopped. End of story. I don't
I don't know.
That's
know.
it.
I don't get it.
That's the just in case this does
know.
well, we can make a sequel.
But
This was never
the
going
kid
to do
looked at
well.
it like an evil way and smiled. Where you're like,
Nobody
Here's-
could
I'm
have
gonna-
watched
I'm gonna
this.
say something very brave and bold.
Okay.
Because I'm very strong and brave.
mm-hmm.
Somebody, one of our fans, because we have a big base who will do this work
big
for
base,
us.
big
Mhm.
base, big base.
The kid had a gap in his front teeth
Yeah, what was that
that
about?
matched Roderick's front gap.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I did it. Hold on. Let me finish my work.
Okay.
Stanley Tucci does not have a gap tooth in between his front two teeth. So that is a very deliberate teaser for Jack 2, Jack and Again.
Jack in New York.
Jack.
Jack and
visits
again.
New York.
I was going to say
Magic
something
or
worse,
Jack?
but I really pulled it in at the end. Uh,
Jack the Giant
But
Slayer.
I do feel like it was the same
2.
bag that Roderick brought up with the crown in it.
It was a very
Which I
lazy
didn't understand
tease
because
of a
Roderick
second.
did not have children. So I don't know why we're acting like his descendants
You don't know that.
are.
Prove that. Prove that. You don't
Guess
know
it
he doesn't
could've-
have children.
I mean, like.
It
shit
could have
been
been,
run
what was
down.
his name? Whisper or
Wormtongue?
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 Wikipedia got at?
Wikipedia got what?
Right. Why? Why did that kid have the same
You look
Roderick
like him.
smile? It was like Return of Roderick.
Return of Roderick.
I don't know.
The Rise of Roderick.
I don't
Jack
know. This
Toon.
movie
I
was
don't
lame.
know. And that's the end.
It is
So,
lame.
first
It's
of all,
sort of just
Kind of
the fact
lame.
that the main thing is called Jack the Giant Slayer, he only kills
Got
one
one,
giant, and it's by
I think.
accident. The cook, by accident.
oh my god, it's so
and it's
brutal though.
the most
Like,
disgusting way you could kill him. Other than that, he doesn't fight anyone. Ben's on a work call, real quick.
that's all right. We're done. I mean, right?
Yeah.
We've beat this to death.
Look, yeah, Ben has to go do work stuff.
All right. I think that's it. Do you
Okay,
want to sign us
everyone.
off?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't even know how, so this will be interesting. Here we go. He's just
Oh, I suppose
Yeah.
he's got to turn it off.
he has it, but yeah, honestly, I don't know. The movie's very like.
There's a parallel universe where this came out in like 1984, and it was kind of
be
good
great-
because the
it'd be
Giants
great then.
were practical effects, and they were consistently 8 foot
I
tall
just-
because they hired a bunch of basketball players on stilts to play the
I-
Giants. And
I also hate
Like
though
they-
the Giants are like idiots in this, and you're like,
oh,
well,
they're
they don't have to be idiots. They're just
Well,
giants.
they're
not trolls.
insufferably dumb. Yeah, it is. That's
You
what it is.
know?
It's like they're
You're like Isn't a giant just? It's just a big person.
just a big. It's almost
It's
like a
not-
giant person, you could say.
Yeah. So why are they? They're so dumb in this. They're like "Bleh," the whole time,
Oh,
and you're like,
oh.
that doesn't. Why would they be like that? And then yeah,
Yeah.
they're just trying to eat. I
And-
don't know.
And
just-
if they are that dumb, why do they want to come down to planet Earth? Like,
they seem like
you-
they have a great thing going on up there. They got their own little.
I mean, they're all
island,
dirty. They need to learn how to wash themselves, but
but they have
We all
everything
s-
we have. So
we
why?
all struggle with washing ourselves, right? That's not
But it's not like they're like, well, we don't have food. They had sheep and shit
Right.
up there. They have food.
Right.
They have water. Why do you
Right.
need to come down to? I don't
Right.
get it. Oh
no
man,
reason.
Ben, we're struggling. We didn't know how to turn things
We
off.
don't know how to sign off.
We're
Sign us off.
panicking. Sign us
Well,
off
sorry
now.
about that. I got to go do some work, unfortunately.
man.
Well, thanks for anybody who tuned in or anybody who's watching this after the fact on YouTube or the Twitch VOD. I'm going to send it over to YouTube after this, figure out how to do that. Anyway, this has been another Date Night D-List movie review. I hope you enjoyed Jack the Giant Slayer as much as we did. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye.